Chapter 656 Attack the City. Chapter 656 Attack the City. Su Zimo's roar reverberated through the world and penetrated metal and stone. Roar! The tiger roar sounded once more with a hint of excitement mixed in. The two roars harmonized with one another in midair. Gaga gaga! A wild laughter echoed from outside the ancient city and was piercing like the clashing of metal. When he heard that laughter, a tall figure with long limbs covered in its own feces appeared in Su Zimo's mind, and he could but help but chuckle. Monkey! Spirit tiger! They were both alive! Both of them were here! Su Zimo was elated. Ever since what happened in Dongling Valley, and Su Zimo was hunted down by Blood Crow Palace, he had to use Blood Escape to flee thousands of kilometers away. With his status unknown, Monkey and the Spirit Tiger left Ethereal Peak. Ever since then, he had not heard anything from them. The thought of searching for them came across Su Zimo's mind as well. However, without any clue, trying to find two demon beasts in this vast world was more difficult than searching for a pin in a haystack. To think that the three of them would reunite in this intermediate ancient battlefield. East. Dust billowed. Countless demon beasts charged over with thundering gallops. The ground shook wildly due to their frightening might. Most of the demon beasts sprinted on the ground with dust flying around them. With their feet on the ground, they could make use of even more power to dodge. Some ferocious birds tore through the skies with piercing screeches. Defend the city with all our might! We can ignore Su Zimo first, there's no way he can escape. The Glass Palace Sealer, Elder Shio, had a calm expression as he relayed the order swiftly. With the Glass Palace cultivators leading the way, many cultivators in the ancient city rushed towards the east wall. At that moment, nobody could retreat, nor did they dare to. It was night at the moment, and if the ancient city's defense was breached by the beast Stampede, everyone would die. Spirit light filled the skies. Countless flying swords shot down towards the city wall. Spirit arts descended with a blanketing might. Although Su Zimo was rooted to the center of the ancient city and could not see what was going on outside, the situation outside was bloody and more than half the skies were already dyed red with blood. It was clear evidence of how tragic the battle was. The cries and roars of demon beasts sounded repeatedly. The city wall was cramped with cultivators. For cultivators in the ancient city, all they had to do was rely on their terrain advantage and the unyielding defense of the ancient city. By releasing their flying swords, spirit weapons and arts with those factors, they could deal the most damage to the beast Stampede. On the ground, any demon beast that was severely injured would be drowned in the pushing beast Stampede. More and more demon beasts fell. However, the beast Stampede had no intention of backing off. That was because at the front of the beast Stampede, there were two demon beasts with frightening auras leading the way, charging towards the ancient city with a murderous intent. 20 years had passed. The spirit tiger had turned stronger, and its aura was malevolent. Every single swipe of its claws produced a lightning flash, and it was extremely shuddering. Spirit arts and flying swords descended, but most of them were slapped away by the spirit tiger with brute force. After cultivating the Void Thunder Manual, it went through a complete transformation as well. The sharpness of its fangs and claws could even repel perfect spirit weapons. However, there were way too many spirit arts and flying swords in midair that rained down. Even the spirit tiger could not avoid sustaining some injuries on its body completely. Thankfully, none of those injuries were lethal. Instead, those injuries enraged the spirit tiger further, as it howled furiously and gained a burst in speed. On the other hand, Monkey kicked off from its toes and relied on its nimble movement techniques to dodge rapidly in the rain of swords and spirit arts. Although it was silent, the scarlet glint in Monkey's eyes intensified. The fact that the spirit tiger and Monkey charged at the front and opened up a path of blood was the reason why the beast Stampede at the back did not disperse and charged at the ancient city swiftly. It was a path of blood that was made up of corpses and bones. Elder Shio stood in the air and looked down at the dense beast Stampede with a cold expression. A bunch of beasts that don't know what's good for them. Kill them all! Glass Palace has sent more than 2,000 golden cores this time round. Although hundreds of them died in the battle earlier on, there were still more than 1,000 Glass Palace cultivators. Coupled with the other cultivators in the city, there were close to 10,000 people. Alongside the terrain advantage, there was no way the Beast Stampede could break through the ancient city's defense. The Beast Stampede was bound to eventual retreat given the unfavorable circumstances. As time passed by, instead of diminishing, the roars outside the ancient city sounded closer. In fact, it was already approaching the ancient city. Elder Shio's expression changed slightly as he gazed down at the battlefield in the east. Beneath the ancient city, corpses were strewn and there were rivers of blood. Although the Beast Stampede managed to push its way towards the ancient city, that short distance of a few thousand feet was filled with the carcasses and flesh of demon beasts. It was grisly and shuddering with a blood stench that resembled the purgatory. The Beast Stampede had lost more than half of its numbers. "Something isn't right." Elder Shio frowned and murmured. "Has the Demon King leading them gone mad? It's insisting on attacking the city despite the heavy losses?" Normally speaking, before half of the Beast Stampede was killed, the Demon King would be able to notice the situation and order for a retreat so that they could retain their strength to bide for a better opportunity. But now, the two Demon Kings leading the charge seemed to have lost their minds as they ordered the remaining Beast Stampede to attack the ancient city relentlessly. Beneath the ancient city, there were already mountains of corpses. Be it on the side of the cultivators or the remaining demon beasts, both parties were immersed in killing. The demon beasts trampled on the carcasses of their comrades, and charged up the city walls with all their might. The cultivators on the city walls defended with their full strength as well. If the demon beasts managed to charge up the wall, countless cultivators would die. That was because apart from Glass Palace cultivators, there were not many people who could engage demon beasts in melee combat. The two demon kings were filled with injuries, but they continued charging up the wall fervently with bloodshot eyes, intent on scaling it. Each time they were pushed down, they charged back up. Even Elder Shio felt a sense of trepidation at the sight of that frightening determination, let alone the cultivators on the wall. What is pushing those demon beasts? Elder Shio could not figure out. It was as though there was a treasure in the ancient city that the demon beasts were bent on getting their hands on. Hold on! A spark flashed through Elder Shio's mind. He spun around furiously and glared at the green-robed cultivator in the middle of the city. At that moment, the green-robed cultivator's expression was so dark that it was scary. His features were menacing and veins popped from his neck. The killing intent in his eyes was almost corporeal and could spew out. "It's him! Those demon beasts are here to save him!" Elder Shio was enlightened. At the same time, he sensed a chilling intent creeping up his back, causing his hairs to stand on end and his scalp to prickle. Initially, there was no way Su Zimo could break free from the omnidirectional demon suppression formation. This was a doomed situation. But now, a variable has appeared in the situation. Finally, a hint of panic flashed through Elder Shio's eyes. Nothing must happen to the omnidirectional demon suppression formation. If the formation is destroyed, who can stop Su Zimo when he breaks free? At that time, when the Beast Stampede breaches the city, everyone inside will. Chapter 657 Berserk. Chapter 657 Berserk. Elder Shio's reaction was swift as he spun around and bellowed to the cultivators on the wall. Defend the demon revealing mirrors with all your might. Don't let the beasts get their hands on it. The Glass Palace cultivators obeyed his orders and dashed towards the demon revealing mirrors. That sudden shift caused chaos to break out from the group. Inevitably, an opening was revealed in the defenses on the wall. Boom! A gigantic, thick arm filled with black fur reached up from below and slapped heavily against the wall. An aura rumbled. There were at least 4 cultivators who did not manage to dodge and were smashed into sludge by the gigantic palm, causing blood to splatter all over the wall. Instantly, a pitch-black figure pulled up from the gigantic palm and arrived at the top of the wall. It was a monkey that was filled with long fur. It bared its fangs at the cultivators with bloodshot eyes, pounding its arms furiously against its chest. It was as though a divine being was beating the heavenly drums with a shocking aura. When they heard that, the demon beasts beneath the city wall became even more excited and charged continuously towards the top of the city wall with the monkey. Roar! There was a deafening tiger roar. After monkey breached the wall's defenses, the pressure on the spirit tiger decreased significantly, and it charged up the wall as well. Diving right into the crowd, it swiped with its sharp claws and bared its menacing fangs. The crowd was in chaos. Cultivators who could enter the ancient battlefield were mostly capable elites of their sects and factions. However, it was the same for demon beasts as well. In that distance, most cultivators were no match for demon beasts. Monkey charged into the crowd, and despite being barehanded, nobody could stand in his path. Everyone in his way was overwhelmed. Both Monkey and the spirit tiger were covered with injuries. However, they continued charging ahead fervently, as though they could not feel any pain. Su Zimo watched from the center of the ancient city silently with a dark gaze. However, the slight trembling of his body was a clear sign of his inner emotions. Over there, I see him! The spirit tiger carved out a bloodied path and caught sight of Su Zimo, who was in the center of the city. Shrugging its head and tail, the spirit tiger wanted to charge down and rescue Su Zimo right away. Elder Shio's lips curled. He was not worried of these demon beasts charging over. Any demon beast that entered the omnidirectional demon suppression formation would be killed, no matter how many of them there were. Don't go! Monkey growled deeply. The spirit tiger paused in its tracks with a confused expression. Turning around, Monkey glared at the demon-revealing mirror that was protected by a dense crowd with a shimmering gaze. Prior to this, he had heard someone in the city yelling for the demon-revealing mirror to be protected. Furthermore, Monkey could clearly tell that the columns of light emanating from the demon-revealing mirrors on the four walls were the reason why Su Zimo was rendered immobile in the center of the city. Those 4 demon-revealing mirrors were the key. Boss, it's too difficult. The spirit tiger could also tell what Monkey intended to do and curled its lips, murmuring. The more than 1,000 cultivators from Glass Palace had already abandoned the defense of the city wall completely and had gathered around the demon-revealing mirror instead. If they wanted to get their hands on the demon-revealing mirror, they would have to get through the defenses of the Glass Palace cultivators first. Every single Glass Palace cultivator was strong physically with immense strength that could match demon beasts barehanded. Because the city wall was much longer, their strength had to be divided, and it was inevitable that there would be weaker spots in the defense. However, it was much simpler defending a single demon-revealing mirror. It was impossible to bypass all the Glass Palace cultivators. Kill! Pointing forward, Monkey roared and the blood chi in his body surged. Without hesitation, he dashed towards the demon-revealing mirror in huge strides. Even if the whole Glass Palace was ahead of him, Monkey was going to run them over. Kill! 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 Many Glass Palace cultivators hollered and attacked at the same time. Flying swords tore through the air. Ignoring them, Monkey's speed did not dip at all as it swerved to avoid lethal damage while extending its gigantic palm to throw out a vicious slap. Poof! 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 Instantly, a few more wounds appeared on Monkey's body. One of the wounds was so deep that it even revealed his white bones. However, Monkey merely frowned and the ferocity in its eyes intensified. Exerting strength in its palm, it sent a few Glass Palace cultivators in its way flying. Crack! 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 The sound of bones cracking could be heard while the Glass Palace cultivators were in midair. The full-powered attack of Monkey was something that even Glass Palace cultivators could not withstand with their bodies. It was way too ferocious. Charging the entire way, Monkey did not care about itself at all and was fighting with its life. Even if it was injured, it was bent on fighting the Glass Palace cultivators to the end. Although the Glass Palace cultivators were elites of their sects that had been through countless life and death bouts, none of them had witnessed such cruel and bloodthirsty methods. Monkey's eyes were already stained red with blood. Under the night skies, he bore a pair of bloodied eyes. It was even brighter than the stars in the skies. Nobody dared to meet his gaze. A bloodied gaze was born. A power deep within the bloodline of Monkey was silently awakened. Berserk. It was a power that was unique to the sanguine ape race. Roar! Monkey reared its head and howled into the skies, completely immersed in its berserk state. It no longer had logic or reason. The only thing in its mind was the thought of killing. The true terror of the berserk state was that Monkey's strength and speed would increase and it would not sense any pain at all. The only thing that could stop it from its killing spree was an extremely severe injury. In fact, it could not even remember the spirit tiger. Anything that stood in its path was killed, and killed. Monkey swung its thick arm and swept through the crowd like a heavenly piercing pillar. All the cultivators in front of it were slammed away with broken bones and tendons. Its gigantic fist resembled a pitch-black seal. With each punch, the city wall would tremble once. The spirit tiger followed closely behind, killing with its full might as well. The lightning in its claws had already faded and turned gradually weaker. In fact, there were countless cuts in its claws that were inflicted by the spirit weapons and they could snap at any moment, no longer as sharp as before. However, it was still trying its best to kill. Even without its claws, it would use its fangs to chomp. Even if its fangs were shattered, it would use its head and body to ram ahead. Insane! These two beasts have gone insane! The cultivators were shivering in fear. Most cultivators in the ancient city had fought against demon beasts in the past one way or another. However, none of them, including Elder Shio, who was almost 1,000 years old, had ever seen demon beasts fighting to the extent where they were no longer concerned about their own life and deaths. On the southern wall of the ancient city, a yellow-haired burly man was initially contemplating an escape out of the city. However, when he saw what happened, he felt a shock that resonated deep in his heart and gripped his fist subconsciously. It was the feeling of blood boiling. In fact, he wanted to rush forward and help the monkey and spirit tiger. However, he calmed down swiftly and had to remind himself constantly. Do not be reckless, do not be reckless. On the other side, a fiery red fox that was hidden in a corner watched everything with a nervous expression. From time to time, her gaze would shift towards the demon-revealing mirror which was guarded by dozens of glass palace cultivators. The little fox was biding her time for an opportunity. Her target was the demon-revealing mirror on the southern wall. Although there were only dozens of glass palace cultivators guarding, it was more difficult than ascending the heavens for the little fox to break through their defenses and get her hands on the demon-revealing mirror. She had never exchanged blows with humans before. At that moment, her heart was filled with fear. However, she knew that she had to stand forth. Chapter 658 Breaking the Demon-Revealing Mirror. Chapter 658 Breaking the Demon-Revealing Mirror. The killing on the east wall was still ongoing. Monkey's bloodshot eyes were widened, resembling two sinister red lanterns in the dark night. Wherever the lanterns passed, a blood storm would rise. Snap! The sound of bones cracking could be heard. A glass palace golden core seized advantage of the chaos to close in, waving his fist to pummel Monkey's kneecap fiercely. The kneecap turned into a bloodied mess of flesh and blood and the bones were shattered on the spot. Although Monkey was in a berserk state, and could not feel any pain, the severe injury on his left kneecap caused him to almost fall from a lack of balance. That brief delay in his movement technique caused a few incoming flying swords from the air to shoot right into Monkey's tall figure. Poof! 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 Arrows of blood splattered. Instantly, a few bloodied holes appeared on Monkey's body. One of them penetrated his chest and was right beside its heart. A slight difference would have ended its life there and then. Filled with injuries all over, Monkey's body was drenched in blood as it panted heavily. Every single pant would cause blood to spurt out of its nose and mouth. It was a shuddering sight. Gradually, Monkey's footsteps came to a stop. It was truly tired. If not for the berserk power that was triggered from the depths of its bloodline, it would have collapsed a long time ago. The blood glint in Monkey's eyes faded gradually. The berserk power was vanishing from its body. What replaced it was throbbing pain from every part of its body that intensified by the moment. Apart from physical weakness, the large amount of blood lost also caused Monkey to experience bouts of dizziness and blurred consciousness. Even its vision was fluttering. Monkey shrugged its head. Blood spurted out of its mouth and nose. The demon-revealing mirror was not far ahead. There were only 2 rows of glass palace cultivators before him. Right now, Monkey was fully exhausted. However, it was indignant. Although the blood light in Monkey's eyes dimmed, their ferocity was not reduced as it glared furiously with clenched teeth at the demon-revealing mirror that was not far ahead. The cultivators on the opposite end did not dare to advance recklessly after meeting with Monkey's gaze. 2 glass palace cultivators stood out and composed themselves. With a shout, they summoned their flying swords once again and thrust towards Monkey's head. The 2 flying swords shone with 5 spirit lights. 2 perfect spirit weapons. All the cultivators who managed to survive up till this point were the strongest elites of their respective sects and factions. As such, it was only natural that their weapons were special. Monkey wanted to dodge when it caught sight of the 2 incoming flying swords. However, its body felt incomparably sluggish and would not obey its mind. If it was struck by the 2 flying swords, Monkey would definitely die even if it had 10 lives. All of a sudden, a dark shadow bolted over from the side and sent one of the swords flying. The other flying sword stabbed into the shadow. The black shadow fell to the ground weakly with a grisly hole that spewed with blood in its abdomen. It was the spirit tiger. At the last moment, the spirit tiger had rushed over to save Monkey. To begin with, the spirit tiger was already exhausted. Now that its abdomen was pierced by the flying sword, it no longer had the strength to get up and could only lie on the ground and whimper with dimmed eyes. Su Zimo's gaze was cold as he gripped his fists so tightly that his knuckles went white. Unknowingly, sharp fingernails had protruded and stabbed into his flesh, but he did not realize it at all. Roar! When Monkey saw that, it was first stunned. Immediately after, its massive body convulsed in a seemingly spastic manner as it roared to the front. Ta! 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 Dragging its battered body, Monkey used the final bits of its strength and took 3 consecutive strides towards the 2 rows of glass palace cultivators at the front. Glass divine light! One of the glass palace golden cores harumphed and released the legacy phenomenon of glass palace towards Monkey. Splash! The power of phenomenon surged and glass divine light shone brightly. Streaks of rainbow light shone behind the glass palace cultivator one after another. Some of the demon beasts nearby were enveloped by the rainbow lights and their flesh crystallized immediately, cold as ice without any life in them. A single touch would turn them into ice blocks to shatter onto the ground. Monkey had a menacing expression and charged towards the glass divine light with no intention of stopping. It reached out for the glass palace cultivator with its massive palm. You must have a death wish! The person sneered and snarled. Given the might of glass divine light, there was no way Monkey's arm could come into contact with him. Even the bloodline of a pure-blooded ferocious beast would be turned into powder by glass divine light. Crack! 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 True enough. Monkey's arm was instantly covered by a layer of rainbow crystal upon reaching into glass divine light. Its fur fell off and its flesh was revealed. In the blink of an eye, even the flesh on its arm was covered by a layer of rainbow crystal. Once the power of phenomenon seeped into the arm's flesh, blood and bones, Monkey's arm would be as good as gone. However, Monkey's arm had already reached the throat of the glass palace cultivator before it was fully penetrated by glass divine light. How is that possible? The glass palace cultivator's eyes were widened with disbelief. There was only a single explanation. Monkey's bloodline was even stronger and more frightening than a pure-blooded ferocious beast's bloodline. It managed to defend against the penetration of glass divine light for the time being. At that moment, as long as Monkey exerted some strength to its fingers, it could kill the glass palace cultivator right away. However, Monkey did not do that. Gripping the person's throat, it made aim and tossed the person viciously towards the demon-revealing mirror that was not far away. The glass palace cultivator's head spun from the toss and he could not control his figure at all. maintaining his golden core phenomenon subconsciously as he flew through the crowd. A few cultivators who did not manage to dodge in time were crystallized by glass divine light and smashed into powder. Of the remaining cultivators, nobody could release golden core phenomenons to defend against this person. Boom! The person smashed heavily into the demon revealing mirror. Clang! The demon revealing mirror rolled and fell from the city wall. There were initially 4 columns of light from the 4 city walls. But now that one of the demon revealing mirrors was sent flying, there was 1 less column of light. The pressure on Su Zimo's body diminished by a fraction. However, the omnidirectional demon suppression formation was not completely dispelled yet. He could only break free if there were at least 3 demon revealing mirrors that were moved. On the city wall, Monkey heaved a deep breath of air when it saw the demon revealing mirror fall over. Its eyes dimmed and it could no longer hold on. With a thud, Monkey's massive body fell weakly onto the city wall, causing blood to splash and dust to billow. Slanting its head, Monkey gazed at Su Zimo in the center of the city and tried its best to shift its chaffed lips and smile, the same way it did back in Sung Lang mountain range. A layer of mist filled Su Zimo's eyes. In midair, Elder Shio's palpitating heart calmed down as well. The fall of a single demon revealing mirror did not have much impact on the current situation. Furthermore, the 2 demon kings were already exhausted and could be killed at any moment. The remaining demon beasts were of no threat either. Everyone, heed my orders! Abandon the east city wall and guard the other 3 walls with all your strength. Protect the other 3 demon revealing mirrors. Before Elder Shio's words were finished, something happened on the southern city wall. Chapter 659 Topple Nations and Cities. Chapter 659 Topple Nations and Cities. The most intense conflicts on the battlefield happened at the east side. There were only dozens of glass palace cultivators above the south city wall guarding the demon revealing mirror. At that moment, the dozens of cultivators were drawn to the commotion on the east side. Suddenly, from a corner of the south city wall, a streak of red light burst out and bolted towards the demon revealing mirror not far away. The streak of red light was tiny and maneuvered through the legs of many glass palace cultivators at an extremely fast speed like a wisp of smoke. What's that? Dozens of glass palace cultivators were momentarily stunned before they reacted to it, and shouted. The red streak of light was the little fox. Su Zimo was both surprised and delighted when he saw that the little fox was fine. However, the next moment, when he realized what the little fox was up to, he found himself on edge once again. The moment of the fall of the demon revealing mirror on the east city wall was the moment when the cultivators felt the most relaxed. Bolstering her courage, the little fox clenched her teeth and dashed towards the demon revealing mirror. However, everyone realized by the time she passed by a few figures. Right as she was in the midst of sprinting with her full might, she felt her body lifting into the air, pulled by the tail. Someone yanked her from behind. Ah! The little fox whimpered and she was lifted with ease. Because she was scurrying too quickly, there was a ripping pain beneath her body when she was pulled up by the tail. Coupled with the fear deep within her heart, the little fox's body could not help but tremble. Foo-foo, it's a fox. We can't kill this fox. I heard that after taking on human form, those of the fox race are fairy-like beauties. With perfect figures and an innate charm, they are the best at pampering their masters. That sounds great. A group of glass palace cultivators circled around the little fox and snickered lustfully. With an embarrassed and furious expression, the little fox clenched her tiny paws and swayed her tail gently. Instantly, a fragrant aroma emanated from her lower body and spread. The first to be struck was the cultivator grabbing the little fox's tail. The glass palace cultivator was dazed with a gaping mouth, drooling in his imaginations. He relented his grip and the little fox broke free. When the surrounding cultivators caught scent of that fragrance, all of them froze on the spot with intoxicated gazes, as though they had lost their souls. That bewitching aroma was a means unique to the fox race. People who were kind and open by nature would not be hurt by the aroma. On the contrary, it would be a boon for their cultivation and would help boost their physical and mental healths. People who were evil and lustful would be mesmerized by the fragrance, and even lose themselves completely, allowing them to be manipulated by the foxes. The little fox scurried past dozens of cultivators and sprinted towards the demon-revealing mirror with her full might. She had to be fast. Given the strength of the Glass Palace cultivators, it won't be long before they snapped out of their stupor. By the time they realized what was going on, she would not have any chance left. The demon-revealing mirror was right in front of her. Suddenly, a pair of boots appeared right before the little fox. A dark shadow dawned down. Before she could react, she felt her breathing choke. Her throat was gripped by a thick arm. A Glass Palace cultivator gripped the little fox's throat with his arm and whisked her up, smirking with a cold, mocking expression. He was Jiang Hui, the leader of the dozens of cultivators and also the strongest among them. He stood right in front of the demon-revealing mirror and had never left it. As such, he was naturally not affected by her attack. He. Jiang Hui glared at the little fox and sneered in ridicule. Little thing, you think you're strong enough to create trouble? The little fox struggled with her petite body. However, Jiang Hui's palm was like an iron grip that she could not break free from. All of a sudden, the little fox's figure shuddered, and right in front of Jiang Hui, she transformed into a young lady in her prime. The young lady wore a red, thinly veiled dress that accentuated her curvy figure. Most of her long legs were revealed in a barely visible manner. Jiang Hui shuddered and lust surged in his lower body. He turned to look at the young lady's face. She was truly befitting of the word peerless. Even the most beautiful descriptions in this world would do injustice to the features of this young lady. Her beautiful eyes were clear as water and seemed like they could draw out one's soul. The young lady's expression seemed like she was grumbling, and her eyes were deep. With a straight nose and slightly agape cherry lips that revealed her pearly whites, she emanated a faint fragrance. Instantly, Jiang Hui's mind went blank with a bang. His grip relented instinctively. Cultivators who were rushing over from other places to give reinforcement paused in their tracks instinctively when they caught sight of the young lady's features. It was accompanied by a clanging commotion. The weapons in their hands were falling one after another. This was what it meant to topple nations and cities. The little fox broke free from Jiang Hui's hand and ran towards the demon-revealing mirror that was not far away. She had barely taken a few steps when she heard a deep growl behind her. Like a wild beast, Jiang Hui lunged towards the little fox with bloodshot eyes. He panted heavily as he gripped the little fox's throat tightly, shouting, "Demonis! Don't dream of bewitching me!" The little fox could not catch her breath, and her legs flayed wildly. However, her arms were still fervently trying to reach the demon-revealing mirror that was close by. Even if I have to use all my strength, I have to knock the demon-revealing mirror over. That was the only thought in the little fox's mind. When he saw that, Su Zimo clenched his teeth tightly and circulated his blood chi to its limit. His eyes were bloodshot as he let out a shuddering roar from the depths of his throat. Not far away on the city wall, a yellow-haired burly man had half a foot out, and was prepared to seize the chaos and escape. However, he froze when he saw that. For some reason, he felt his blood boiling. "Bloody hell, damn it! I'm going for it!" The yellow-haired burly man took back his feet and roared, lunging towards Jiang Hui at the side. In midair, his figure transformed into a mighty golden lion with outstretched claws and a widened mouth bearing its fangs. Jiang Hui's mental state was in complete chaos right now. In reality, he had been completely bewitched by the little fox. However, the secret skills he had cultivated, such as the Glass Sutra, were reminding him constantly that something was amiss. The two conflicting thoughts clashed in his mind, resulting in the current situation. He did not even notice the golden lion lunging in. The golden lion chomped down on Jiang Hui's head, crunching it before devouring it. At the same time, the dozens of Glass Palace cultivators at the side stirred awake and rushed over. "I'll hold them back! Hurry and leave!" The golden lion did not have time to look at the little fox and merely left that comment before rushing towards the dozens of Glass Palace cultivators. The little fox struggled to get up and sprinted to the demon-revealing mirror before she could even catch her breath. She reached for the corner of the demon-revealing mirror and shoved it with all her might. Clang! The demon-revealing mirror was knocked over. Yet another column of light vanished from Suzumo. Instantly, it seemed as though the world had gone silent. The air went stale. The ancient city was filled with a murderous intent. An extremely frightening aura was being released gradually from the center of the ancient city. It was as though an extremely terrifying existence was being awakened. Chapter 660 Break Free! Chapter 660 Break Free! The shuddering aura emanated from the center of the ancient city and permeated to every single corner, shrouding over every cultivator. On the south city wall, many cultivators were about to charge up to kill the spirit tiger and monkey. However, they paused in their tracks all of a sudden. On the east city wall, the young lady transformed from the little fox panted slightly. The golden lion's massive figure fell to the corner of the wall, coughing out huge mouthfuls of blood with a tuckered expression. Although it was a pure-blooded ferocious beast, it could not withstand the combined force of dozens of glass palace cultivators. It was severely injured the moment they clashed. However, the dozens of cultivators did not continue in their pursuit. Every single cultivator in the ancient city felt a chill down to their bones and turned around instinctively. Nobody knew what would happen after 2 demon-revealing mirrors were knocked over. All the cultivators wanted to know if the remaining 2 demon-revealing mirrors could support the omnidirectional demon suppression formation and continue locking the monster incarnate where he was. Even the heartbeat of the sealer, Elder Shio, in midair skipped a beat. At that moment, it seemed as though time had frozen. 1 breath. 2 breaths. Suzumo was still motionless where he was. Although there were 2 demon-revealing mirrors missing, the runes of the omnidirectional demon suppression formation were still present and hovered above Suzumo's head with a firm lock. Elder Shio was the first to react as he yelled, "Everyone, don't panic! The runes of the formation are still present, and that beast can't break free. The rest of you, head over to guard the demon-revealing mirrors on the west and north city walls. Nothing must happen to the 2 demon-revealing mirrors." Elder Shio bolted towards the west city wall as he spoke. F-f-f. Suddenly, Suzumo laughed from the middle of the formation in the ancient city in an unsettling manner. Elder Shio was not wrong. Suzumo was still unable to break free after 2 demon-revealing mirrors were knocked over. However, it was also logical that the strength of the omnidirectional demon suppression formation would diminish after 2 columns of light were gone. With the diminished strength of the formation, another power within Suzumo's body had already been unsealed. Turning around, Suzumo glared at the back of Elder Shio coldly. Elder Shio, who was in midair, suddenly frowned. He could vaguely sense that someone was glaring at him from the back. It was like a piercing light. Immediately after, he felt an extreme sense of danger surging from the depths of his heart. It was an extremely uncomfortable feeling. Elder Shio turned around. Immediately, his eyes were widened with fear in them, as though he had just witnessed an incomparably horrifying scene. In the middle of the ancient city, a white light was bouncing in Suzumo's right eye, intensifying and turning brighter. Visual technique? Elder Shio could not react from his stupor in time. A bedazzling beam of light shot forth from Suzumo's right eye, illuminating the entire world like day as though it was a blazing sun. Illumination Eye. The first power to break free after 2 demon-revealing mirrors were knocked over was the Illumination Eye. Illumination Eye was cultivated through gazing at the blazing sun day and night. In reality, it had already transcended beyond the power of inner core and was almost on the same level as the heaven and earth powers. In other words, the power of Illumination Eye was a type of dermic power. Boom! An incomparably brilliant beam of light shot forth and penetrated the void, almost crossing half the ancient city as it pierced Elder Shio's abdomen. The world seemed to have gone still. Instantly, the darkness in the ancient city was purged away by the beam of light. A gigantic hollow wound appeared on Elder Shio's abdomen, and his body was almost snapped. In fact, there was no trace of blood around the wound, Everything was scorched into ash by the power of illumination, and it was terrifying. The beam of light did not strike Elder Shio at his vitals. However, all life had been wiped away from Elder Shio at that moment. Illumination had already burned away every single bit of life in his organs. In reality, that body was already a corpse at that moment. The only reason why he did not fall immediately was the presence of his essence spirit. Unfortunately, he was almost at the end of his lifespan to begin with, and his essence spirit was extremely weak. Even if it could break free from the shell of his body, it would not last for more than 3 breaths. The murderous intent that shrouded the ancient city alone was more than enough to destroy his extremely fragile essence spirit. Elder Shio's dimmed and he no longer had any hopes left. His death was certain, and he did not have any regrets. His true concern was that the omnidirectional demon suppression formation was most likely unable to hold down the monster incarnate any longer. The true target of the visual technique was not him, but the demon revealing mirror on the west city wall behind him. The beam of light penetrated his body and struck the west city wall. 5 cultivators that were standing guard in front of the demon revealing mirror were pierced by the beam of light instantly. One of them had a full half of his body cut off entirely. Another cultivator's head was sliced into half. Boom! Eventually, the beam of light from illumination struck the demon revealing mirror and knocked it onto the ground. Another column of light from the demon revealing mirror disappeared from Suzimo. Night loomed down once more. At the same time, a dark fog enveloped everyone's minds. Although the omnidirectional demon suppression formation was still present, the runes surrounding it had faded considerably. All Glass Palace cultivators, listen up! Hurry and leave this place. Escape as far as you can. Elder Shio exhausted the final bit of his strength and bellowed. Immediately after, Elder Shio's glabella shone and a black mountain peak the size of a thumb appeared in midair. Dermic power fluctuated right after. The black mountain peak expanded rapidly with the wind and blanketed Suzimo's head with a large shadow before crushing down. Elder Shio knew that he was dead for sure, and this was the final thing he could do. It would be for the best if he could kill Suzimo on the spot. If not, he would still make his death worthwhile if he could buy enough time for the remaining Glass Palace cultivators to escape. The moment he knew that Monkey and the Spirit Tiger had attacked the city, Suzimo was already fuming with rage. Now that 3 demon revealing mirrors had been knocked off and the pressure on him was relieved considerably, he could not help but rear his head and release a deafening roar filled with killing intent. The final demon revealing mirror that was remaining and the omnidirectional demon suppression formation could no longer seal his inner core. Suzimo's eyes shone brightly, dark as ink, and his black hair swayed in the air. Blood chi surged in his body while his inner core circulated wildly, releasing a scarlet demonic chi around him. His body was expanding at a rapid pace. Crackle! Pang! 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 Suzimo's tendons and bones sounded at the same time as his flesh expanded. Right in front of everyone, that body that was around 7 feet tall instantly grew to more than 100 feet. He was like a towering ancient fiend celestial with a torrential ferocity. Many cultivators on the city walls were already scared out of their wits. Right in front of them, the massive figure grew to a height that was even taller than the city walls. What happened was way too shocking. Like a demon king and divine being, that figure seemed like it could crush and destroy everything in its path. Chapter 661 Blood for Blood. Chapter 661 Blood for Blood. The flesh on that massive body expanded and green veins were exposed densely, slithering on the body like spirit snakes. The body shone with a metallic luster that was indestructible. There was a layer of runes shining over Suzimo's body still. Although 3 demon revealing mirrors were knocked over, the omnidirectional demon suppression formation was still present and had not been completely dispelled. The light barrier formed by the formation was still bound tightly onto Suzimo's body. However, the runes on the light barrier flickered as though they could be destroyed at any moment. With a menacing gaze, Suzimo's arms expanded and his entire body grew once again. Crack! 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 The surrounding light barrier shattered instantly. The runes on it dimmed completely. With a boom, the omnidirectional demon suppression formation exploded. Su Zimo broke free and the demonic chi in his body surged out, conjuring a series of ancient demons one after another around him. Wild bovine, stone bear, anaconda, sanguine ape, divine steed, hell tiger and wind leopard. There were 7 of them. The cultivators in the ancient city were scared witless. Prior to this, Su Zimo had reminded them twice that this was a grudge between him and Glass Palace, and that it had nothing to do with them. At that moment, all of them took Su Zimo as a joke. But now, everyone realized that the only shot they might have at survival was if they left at that moment. Bang! Boom! Boom! A large shadow engulfed, covering the sky and the sun. The black mountain peak released by Elder Shio at the end crushed down, but Su Zimo did not dodge or avoid. Extending his arms, he growled deeply and his massive palms supported the base of the mountain peak. Boom! The mountain peak was extremely heavy since it contained the dermic powers of a sealer after all. The moment he made contact with it, Su Zimo's figure shrunk and the stone slabs beneath his feet exploded, causing his legs to sink deeply into the ground. However, his knees did not buckle and his spine was still upright. Like a divine being, he lifted the black mountain peak with his body. That was the final scene Elder Shio witnessed in this world. Heis! He closed his eyes and sighed gently. He knew that the cultivators in the ancient city were mostly doomed. As for the Glass Palace cultivators, there was a high chance that they would all die here. A tear opened up silently behind Elder Shio, blowing with an evil wind in its darkness. The tear enveloped Elder Shio in a single motion before closing gradually. Hurry, run! Finally, some cultivators realized what was happening and fled into the distance. Su Zimo had a menacing gaze and smiled sinisterly. He threw the mountain peak in his hands towards the escaping crowd viciously. Boom! Half the west city wall was crushed with the descent of the mountain peak. Although Su Zimo could support the mountain peak, the other cultivators could not, even their combined strength could not withstand the pressure of the mountain peak. In an instant, hundreds of cultivators were crushed into sludge. Kill! Su Zimo widened his shining eyes and his blood chi surged into the air, shrouding around him. Facing the escaping cultivators, he roared loudly. Almost at the same time, the 7 ancient demon kings surrounding Su Zimo opened their mouths and released deafeningly scary howls. Poof! 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 Many cultivators did not manage to escape far before they exploded from the shock of the howls and died on the spot. The number of demon beasts gushing into the city increased continuously. Roar! Looking at them, Su Zimo let out a deep growl. All the demon beasts understood him and chased after the cultivators from other factions and sections. None of the demon beasts dared to disobey Su Zimo's orders. For demons, the rules of the jungle were absolute for them. Anyone who was strongest could declare themselves as king. At this moment, anyone that dared disobey Su Zimo was looking to die. Su Zimo placed Monkey, the spirit tiger, little fox and golden lion down at a corner, and poured out all the elixirs in his storage bag. Monkey and the spirit tiger had the most severe injuries. However, Monkey's bloodline was special to begin with and life force was already recovering within its body by now. The spirit tiger underwent a transformation after cultivating the Void Thunder Manual, and had also started recovering. The golden lion's condition was fine, and was in no danger of death. The 3 of them merely had to consume a few elixirs before recovering. As for the little fox, she was merely shocked, not injured. However, for some unknown reason, she reverted to her true form and looked at Su Zimo nervously with shifty eyes, seemingly embarrassed. After placating the 4 of them, Su Zimo did not linger and turned immediately. He strode with huge steps in that massive body and hunted down Glass Palace cultivators. The other cultivators in the ancient city could naturally be settled by the remaining beast Stampede. Su Zimo was not bothered even if some of them slipped away. The only ones who were not allowed to leave were Glass Palace cultivators. Su Zimo had mentioned that he would make Glass Palace pay with blood for the millions of innocent living beings from the 13 cities of Yen country that were killed. Furthermore, Glass Palace had to pay for the severe injuries of Monkey and the Spirit Tiger as well. It was truly way too difficult for anyone that hoped to leave this place alive against Su Zimo's pursuit. His body was massive and his burst power was shocking. He could catch up to anyone within a few steps with his huge strides. Additionally, he had cultivated universal hearing and his 5 senses were frighteningly strong as well. Nobody could avoid detection from him. Su Zimo chased after a small group of Glass Palace cultivators and his massive palm descended from the skies. He did not have to use any technique at all. This was a complete suppression of strength. He was overwhelming everything with brute force. Boom! When the palm landed on the ground, the ancient city shook and dust billowed. By the time Su Zimo lifted his palm, there was a gigantic handprint on the ground with a dark shade of fresh blood seeping to every single corner of the soil. The small group of Glass Palace cultivators were all dead. Some cultivators who brushed past Su Zimo heaved secretly in relief to have escaped. Unexpectedly, the ancient demon kings surrounding Su Zimo burst forth. The wild bovine raised its horns, the stone bear pushed with its palms, the anaconda coiled, the sanguine ape threw out seals with its fists, and the divine steed rammed. Every single move was a killing technique. None of those cultivators could withstand it at all. Su Zimo passed through the ancient city and nobody within 1,000 feet radius around him was spared. He slaughtered all living beings mercilessly like a walking human weapon. Even for Glass Palace cultivators who could release golden core phenomenons, nothing changed. There was a chance that a golden core phenomenon released by those of Shibuya or Yi Tianqing's level could defend against Su Zimo. For the remaining Glass Palace cultivators, their golden core phenomenons could deal with the cultivators of other sects and factions sufficiently. However, against Su Zimo, they were like weaklings that could not even take a single attack. A few punches and kicks were enough to shatter the phenomenons. The massacre continued. Gradually, the ancient city went silent. Su Zimo had already killed his way to the plains outside the ancient city. All Glass Palace cultivators, even if they had escaped thousands of kilometers away, had to die under him. The night gradually cleared as time passed by. By the time daybreak arrived, a green-colored figure appeared on the horizon with fluttering clothes. Standing in the air with dancing hair, he welcomed the return of the sunlight. Chapter 662 The Deep Ties Between Brothers. Chapter 662 The Deep Ties Between Brothers. Overnight, the ancient city was destroyed. There were more than 2,000 Glass Palace cultivators with 6 sealers included, but none of them survived. Tang Shuyun stood squarely on the city wall, gazing at the derelict ancient city that was strewn with corpses and blood with a dazed expression. The ancient city was already occupied entirely by demon beasts. She was the only cultivator still alive. If Su Zimo had not handed her over to the side of the monkey, spirit tiger, and the other demon beasts, she would have been ripped apart by the demon beasts a long time ago. Although it was only a short night, it felt like a long time to Tang Shuyun. She witnessed with her own eyes her sect mates being murdered mercilessly by someone. However, that person was her life-saving benefactor. She witnessed hundreds of thousands of cultivators buried here. She also witnessed a flourishing and relentless ancient city transform into a ruins overnight. Tang Shuyun should feel hatred towards Su Zimo. After all, that man killed Southern Dual Sect cultivators personally and attracted a beast stampede to kill off more than half the cultivators in this ancient city. However, she could not bring herself to do that. It wasn't only because Su Zimo had saved her previously. More than that, it was because in the depths of her heart, it was difficult to distinguish between who was right or wrong. At that moment, that man returned, basked in sunlight. Monkey grinned and the spirit tiger yelled in joy. The golden lion reared its head and roared while the little fox clutched its tiny paws with an emotional look. During Tang Shuyun's moment of silence, the man had already descended upon the city wall. Pursing her lips, Tang Shuyun headed forward and said with cupped fists, "Thank you for not killing me, fellow Taoist. I'll take my leave here. She had already sensed how out of place she was with everything here. There was no way she could stay on. Yes, Su Zimo replied. Although it's daytime now, there are still many dangers lurking in the ancient battlefield. If you're not in a hurry, you can rest here for the time being and I'll escort you to another gathering spot. What he meant by the time being was for Monkey, the spirit tiger, and the other demons to recover. Tang Shuyun shook her head. She truly did not know how she should get along with Su Zimo in the future. When he saw that, Su Zimo did not force her and said, "Take care along the way then." Tang Shuyun nodded and turned to leave. Not long after she left the ancient city, she could not help but turn back to gaze at the green-colored figure, saying, "It won't be long before news of what happened here spreads to the rest of the ancient battlefield. You've got to take care as well." "All right," a reply transmitted over from the ancient city. Sighing internally, Tang Shuyun let go of the slight reluctance in her heart and sped into the distance. On the city wall, Su Zimo swept his gaze across Monkey, the spirit tiger, Little Fox, and the golden lion. When he saw that they were recovering nicely, he finally smiled, unable to conceal the joy in his eyes. There was nothing more joyous than to reunite with old friends and acquaintances. There seemed to be endless things to say between Su Zimo, Monkey, and the spirit tiger, and they could not stop conversing. "Su Zimo!" Ignoring its injury, Monkey strode over and extended its fist, thumping heavily on Su Zimo's chest. Dong! Su Zimo did not dodge and took the blow. The man and Monkey looked at one another and smiled. It was as though in that moment, they had gone back in time and returned to the days when they fought side by side in Songlang mountain range. Golden Lion looked on and felt envy at their chemistry and relationship. After witnessing the terror of Su Zimo's strength, it wanted to get to know him as well. However, at the end of the day, it had only known Su Zimo for a couple of days. Previously, it was even just a mount for Su Zimo, and there was naturally no way it could compete against the status of Monkey and the spirit tiger. The spirit tiger walked over and shrugged its head, chuckling. After forming his inner core, the first word that boss said in human tongue was "your name." Su Zimo felt warmth in his heart. Previously, be it Monkey or the spirit tiger, either of them formed an inner core and could not speak in human tongue. Their interactions were mostly a series of shouts. To think that the first word Monkey said would be his name. They had not seen each other for more than 20 years. Monkey had changed a lot. The only thing that remained the same was its feral nature, the pride in its eyes and its feelings towards Su Zimo. The spirit tiger said smugly, "After we could take on human form, we gave ourselves names so that it would be more convenient for us to roam the world." Monkey pouted its lips in disdain. The spirit tiger perked up and took a deep breath before speaking as though it was declaring something of paramount importance. "My name is Hu Batian." The little fox could not help but blurt out laughing. Su Zimo could barely hold it in as well. The moment the spirit tiger saw that, it was worked up. "What are you guys laughing about? What's bad about that name?" "Shameless," Monkey snorted and remarked ruthlessly. The spirit tiger's eyes widened and it raised its chin, arguing with a flushed face. "What's so shameless about it? It's such a great name that's rare in the world and absolutely dominating." Su Zimo laughed. "The name is crude and gaudy, but I guess it's quite matching with your character. All of you guys are jealous." The spirit tiger's face darkened as it clenched its teeth in a huff, trembling from head to toe such that its wounds reopened. "What about you? You didn't get yourself a name?" Su Zimo turned towards Monkey. Pouting, Monkey's eyes were filled with disdain as it raised its head. "I'm me, I don't require a name. I'm going to be the strongest monkey demon in this world from this day forth. The moment anyone mentions a monkey demon, I'll be the first to come to mind." Su Zimo nodded. That was the true meaning of domineering. Monkey's ambitions had never been small. Back in the Songlang mountain range, it was already bent on being the demon king of the mountain range. Eventually, it was proven that Monkey indeed had the capabilities. Its bloodline was extremely unusual. Su Zimo witnessed how Monkey entered a berserk state on the city wall. This secret skill of triggering one's power of bloodline was definitely a legacy of an extremely powerful and rare race. Suddenly, something else came to Su Zimo's mind. In Tianhuang mainland, apart from him who knew about the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness, Monkey also knew about one of its sections, the Tendon's Transformation section. It was highly possible that Dai Yu had imparted that to Monkey personally. The fact that Dai Yu was willing to teach it was proof that Monkey's background might be rather special. Su Zimo asked, "Where did you guys go after leaving Ethereal Peak? Why did you enter the ancient battlefield and come here?" "Boss could not stay in Ethereal Peak any longer after knowing that you were missing and there was no news of whether you were dead or alive," the Spirit Tiger said. "Later on, Boss insisted on leaving to look for you and I followed along. There was no meaning to us staying in Ethereal Peak if you weren't there. Initially, that stupid bird wanted to sneak out along with us as well. However, it was caught by the old immortal crane and had no choice but to stay in Ethereal Peak." At the mention of the stupid bird, there was a reminiscent look in the Spirit Tiger's eyes as it showed a rare display of emotions. "I wonder how that stupid bird's doing. Has it formed its inner core yet?" The stupid bird the Spirit Tiger was referring to was the child of Ethereal Peak's immortal crane. The Spirit Tiger and Little Crane spent the most time together, and their relationship was naturally closer. Chapter 663 Are You a Dog? Chapter 663 Are You a Dog? The last time Su Zimo saw Little Crane was during the battle at Ethereal Peak. At that time, when Blood Crow Palace invaded with the intention of annihilating Ethereal Peak, Little Crane had yet to form its inner core. However, Su Zimo believed that with the guidance of the old immortal crane, it should not be an issue for Little Crane to form an inner core in 20 years. Right now, it was truly joyous recalling the times back in Ethereal Peak together with Monkey, the Spirit Tiger, Little Crane and Night Spirit. There was probably no way he could return to those days. From now on, be it in the ancient battlefield or Tianhuang mainland, Su Zimo had to tread with caution. The Spirit Tiger said, "After the two of us left Ethereal Peak, we tried looking for you at Dongling Valley. Later on, we continued traveling while asking about you, but there was no news for around 3 years. Do you know that during that period of time, Boss and I—" Monkey frowned and shot the Spirit Tiger a look. The Spirit Tiger did not continue. At that time, Su Zimo escaped thousands of kilometers from Dongling Valley using blood escape in order to escape the pursuit of Blood Crow Palace's lord. He ran all the way to one of the 9 forbidden grounds of Tianhuang mainland, Dragonbone Valley. Thereafter, he got into huge trouble with Night Spirit by splitting the dragon egg and was brought to the capital of Great Zhou by Lin Xuanji. In order to hide from the pursuit of the dragon race, he did not dare to leave the city and by some accident, changed his name to Mo Ling and lived an ignoble existence in the capital for close to 3 years. Even Ethereal Peak did not know where he was or if he was dead or alive, let alone Monkey and the Spirit Tiger. They could not take on human form and would naturally be killed if they were spotted by cultivators. Although the Spirit Tiger did not continue, Su Zimo could guess what happened. The two of them went through endless hardships and dangers during that period of time in order to search for him. After pondering, the Spirit Tiger continued, "Thereafter, we stayed for a period of time in Black Crow Mountain. We thought that you were dead after hearing about the Paragon battle at the Great Qian Ruins and even headed to Dragon Burial Valley to pay our respects to you." Su Zimo smiled. "Later on, we wandered all over the place and found ourselves in the Wild Lion Ridge," the Spirit Tiger said. When he heard that, the Golden Lion's expression changed. Su Zimo frowned slightly and asked, "One of the 8 demon regions?" "Yes." The Spirit Tiger nodded. "We hung out there for 20 years and had no intention of entering this place initially. However, when the battle at Sunglang Mountain Range broke out, and you declared war to Glass Palace, we found out that you were still alive. Later on, we obtained 2 spots in the territory there and was teleported here with the help of high-leveled fiend demons." After listening at the side for a long time, the Golden Lion finally spotted an opportunity and chimed in hurriedly. The 8 demon regions are filled with danger everywhere, with countless beasts and ferocious birds roaming all around. In fact, there are even great and old demons. Great demons were equivalent to conjoined bodies, mighty figures of the human race. Old demons were equivalent to Mahayana patriarchs. The 8 demon regions were the 8 greatest gathering places of the demon race. From puny spirit beasts to notoriously mighty great demons, all of them could be found in the 8 demon regions. Places like Sanglang mountain range could not even be considered as the tip of the iceberg of the 8 regions. It was said that there were even demon emperors in the 8 demon regions. Even cultivators did not dare to step foot lightly into the 8 demon regions. The Golden Lion said, "Killing is intense between the different territories because everyone fights for the position of overlords. The fact that the 2 of you are able to obtain 2 spots without the backing of any race is an impressive feat." For the Golden Lion, he had the backing of the Golden Lion race, and they had their own territory. As the name implied, the Wild Lion Ridge was ruled over by the Lion race, and the Golden Lion race was one of them. To the Golden Lion, the fact that Monkey and the Spirit Tiger could reside in the Wild Lion Ridge for a full 20 years without any backing and even obtain 2 spots to enter the ancient battlefield was impressive. Monkey glanced at the Golden Lion and nodded. It was not easy to garner such a response from Monkey. In the fight earlier on, Monkey and the Spirit Tiger saw how the Golden Lion saved the little fox and held back Glass Palace cultivators alone. That was precisely the reason why they felt that the Golden Lion was qualified to sit around them. The Spirit Tiger was elated after being complimented by the Golden Lion. However, it put on a front and nodded at that moment. "Yellow hair, you're pretty sharp." "Not bad, I like it." At the mention of yellow hair, the Golden Lion frowned and rolled its eyes. The little fox sat at the side and covered her mouth, chuckling. Since she was young, she lived in the underground cave locked up by the gigantic crocodile and spent her days in fear. Now that she was reunited with Su Zimo and had so many companions, she was truly overjoyed listening to their conversations. The Spirit Tiger smiled sheepishly at the sight of the little fox's smile, and wagged its tail in a pandering manner. There was no ferocity in its behavior at all. Bang! Monkey could not stand it any more and slapped the Spirit Tiger on the face, scolding disappointedly. "Bloody wagging your tail again! Are you a dog? Ha ha!" Su Zimo roared in laughter, as though he had returned to the past. The Spirit Tiger did not dare to fight against Monkey and climbed up, clasping its tail while grumbling. "Why are you always getting physical? Just talk things out. Furthermore, these are new friends. Give me some face." Monkey snorted with a chuckle and placed its hands behind its back, looking up the skies and ignoring the Spirit Tiger. Turning to Su Zimo with an aggrieved expression, the Spirit Tiger closed in on the little fox and whispered, "Foxy, let me tell you, I didn't like to wag my tail in the past. It's all Su Zimo's fault." The little fox shuddered at the way the Spirit Tiger addressed her and backed off a few steps with goosebumps rising. Su Zimo raised his brow. How was he to blame for that? The Spirit Tiger said in a mysterious manner, "Foxy, you've got to keep your distance from Su Zimo in the future. He's got a fetish. Back then, after he captured me, he forced me to roar every day until my throat went hoarse. Forget about that, from then on, I started wagging my tail unconsciously. Before I met Su Zimo, I was extremely manly." Su Zimo smiled. Back when he captured the Spirit Tiger, he wanted to use its roar to unravel the secret behind the sound of tigers and leopards in the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. That was the reason why he forced the Spirit Tiger to roar. Up till now, the Spirit Tiger did not know the reason for it, and merely thought that Su Zimo was perverted. The little fox pouted her lips in displeasure. She disliked people talking bad about Su Zimo. "You're the one with a fetish! You like wagging your tail! You're a small dog!" With that, the little fox turned around and darted to Su Zimo's side, leaving the Spirit Tiger alone, flustered and howling internally. "I'm not a dog, I'm Hu Batian!" The little fox wanted to hop onto Su Zimo's body like in the past. Unexpectedly, he retreated and glared at her, asking with a fake smile, "Little fox, when were you able to take on human form?" A long time ago. The little fox lowered her head shyly and in a turn, transformed into the young lady with peerless looks in a red veiled dress once more. She bowed towards Suzumo and said tenderly, "Greetings, Mr. Drip. Drip." An odd sound came from the side. The spirit tiger's eyes widened as drool dripped from its gaping mouth. Its tail wagged furiously behind it. Monkey reared its head and sighed before sending the spirit tiger flying with a slap, snarling, "Sorry, can't help it." Chapter 664 Cleaning Up the Battlefield. Chapter 664 Cleaning Up the Battlefield. They had not seen each other for more than 20 years. The spirit tiger was still as chirpy as before, and Monkey was as prideful as before. Everything was the same as in the past. Suzumo felt a sense of warmth in his heart as he looked at them play around. At times, it was simpler to get along with demons instead. There were no schemes and plots. On the other hand, humans were much more complex. For Monkey and the spirit tiger, everything became much simpler after they entered the ancient battlefield. The same way Glass Palace predicted that Suzumo could come knocking, the two of them thought about the same thing as well and subdued a group of demons to form a beast stampede. The little fox had the same idea. However, the regrettable thing was that there was still no news of Mingjin. "Stay here and recover first. I'll go clean up the battlefield." Suzumo rose to leave after settling down Monkey and the others. Hundreds of thousands of people were buried in this battle. All the storage bags of the cultivators had to be retrieved. For Suzumo right now, apart from connate spirit weapons or rare ancient treasures, no other spirit weapons could attract him. However, he could not abandon the storage bags as well. What was most important to Suzumo were the soul-nourishing blood ginsengs, spirit-gathering fruits and other elixirs that could be used to cultivate and nourish one's essence spirit collected by those cultivators. Those were consumables, and naturally, the more the merrier. There were demon beasts all over the ancient city. However, when Suzumo walked through the ancient city, all of them chose to avoid him instinctively. A docile and shy young lady walked behind him. It was the little fox who had taken on human form. "Is there anything?" Suzumo did not stop in his tracks and glanced sideways. Slumping her head, the little fox snuck a gaze at Suzumo with her huge, watery eyes, whispering, "Mister, are you angry at me?" The little fox could have taken on human form a long time ago, however, she chose to conceal that fact due to some embarrassing reasons. She was still feeling uneasy. After a moment of contemplation, Suzumo said intentionally, "Since you don't trust me, you don't have to follow me from now on." The moment the little fox heard that, she was flustered. She stood on the spot blankly with tears brimming in her eyes that could fall at any moment. "My mother is dead, and now you don't want me anymore after bringing me out of the cave. I don't have any kin at all. And from now on, nobody wants me anymore. Boo-hoo!" The little fox bawled and broke out into tears. Suzumo was shocked. He had only mentioned it casually to tease the little fox. He hadn't expected her to take it for real. A few heads popped out one after another from the top of the city wall. Monkey, the spirit tiger, and the golden lion sprawled on the top of the wall and looked over in secret. All three of them had flames of gossip blazing in their eyes. The spirit tiger said, "Suzumo must be treating Foxy badly and bullying her. I'm going to head down and help her." Monkey replied, "Go on." The golden lion commented, "Rest in peace, warrior." Spirit tiger. Suzumo turned around and wiped away the tears on the little fox's eyes gently, smiling bitterly. "I was only teasing you. How could I be angry at you for something so small? For real?" The little fox stopped crying and tilted her head slightly, asking in slight disbelief, "Absolutely. So you won't chase me away in the future?" "No. Thank you, mister." The little fox broke into a smile. There were still droplets of sparkling tears hanging onto her long lashes, reflecting a brilliance under the shine of the sun. Suzumo only managed to clean up the battlefield after a long time. He gathered the items within the storage bags. There were close to 100,000 spirit weapons, various elixirs and countless talismans. Su Zimo did not have much use for those items. He could not be bothered with ordinary spirit weapons. For elixirs, he only consumed perfect-grade elixirs with 5 patterns. There was only a single connate spirit weapon among the 100,000 spirit weapons. It was the glove that Yi Tiancheng wore previously. Although there was only one, that was already sufficient for Su Zimo. His right hand was in possession of the divine phoenix bone, and even dermic weapons wouldn't be able to destroy it. As long as he wore that connate glove on his left hand, he could catch almost any weapon bare-handed with both his hands. He would be close to invulnerable. There were more than 100 spirit-gathering fruits in total. Be it demons or cultivators, they merely had to consume 2 at most while cultivating their essence spirits. Consuming more won't make a difference. With more than 100, it was enough for them to split evenly. There were a total of 12,000 stalks of soul-nourishing blood ginseng. At first glance, that seemed like a massive number. However, Su Zimo had a hunch that the number of soul-nourishing blood ginsengs he required was much more than ordinary cultivators. It wasn't only because he had both demonic and immortality cultivation. More than that, be it his golden core or inner core, they were different from ordinary people. Furthermore, Monkey, the spirit tiger, and the other demons also required soul-nourishing blood ginseng for a breakthrough to the nascent soul realm. Therefore, Su Zimo had to collect as many soul-nourishing blood ginseng as he could in the ancient battlefield. 10 days later, Monkey's bloodline was extremely strong. After the spirit tiger cultivated the void thunder manual, its bloodline contained the power of thunder. The rumbling of thunder in spring brought about the birth of all living beings. To begin with, the power of life could be found within thunder. Although Monkey and the spirit tiger were the most badly injured, their injuries had mostly recovered after 10 days. Both of them were active by nature and did not want to continue staying in the ancient city. Su Zimo asked, "What plans do you guys have after leaving the ancient city?" "I'm following you," Monkey replied. To begin with, Su Zimo was the reason why he entered the ancient battlefield. The spirit tiger scratched its head and coughed gently. Licking its face, it walked over to the little fox and smiled deviously, wagging its tail. "Foxy, where are you headed for?" The little fox replied. "I'm naturally following Mr. Piak." The spirit tiger slapped its thighs and shouted, "What a coincidence! We're both thinking about the same thing." Bang! A massive palm appeared from the side and landed squarely on the spirit tiger's face, sending it flying. "Fuck!" The spirit tiger's shout could be heard from midair. The little fox snickered endlessly. Su Zimo turned around and looked at the golden lion. "What about you? If you wish to leave, I'll split you some of the spirit-gathering fruit and soul-nourishing blood ginseng." The golden lion replied, "I don't have anywhere to go either." After pondering for a moment, the golden lion said with a hesitant expression, "If you don't mind, I can even be your mount." Through the battle in the ancient city, it had already witnessed how strong Su Zimo was. In the depths of its heart, although it was unwilling, it was not embarrassed if it could become a mount for someone as strong as this. "Ha ha!" Su Zimo reared his head in laughter and patted the golden lion on the shoulder. "I should be thanking you for standing out for me righteously a few days ago. How can I still see you as a mount? Don't look down on me, yellow hair." When it heard the first part, the golden lion was initially touched. However, its expression darkened and it grumbled when it heard yellow hair. "Is there any other name?" "Yellow hair is pretty good," Monkey consoled. "If it was up to me, I'd call you a lion dog." "Ugh," the golden lion remarked. "Yellow hair's better." Su Zimo waved forward in an awesome manner. "Since that's the case, let's head to the center of the ancient battlefield and take a look at the Golden Core phenomenon ranking as well as the paragons of Tianhuang mainland. I'll definitely get my hands on the top spot of the ranking. Let's go! Time to go! Foxy, wait for me." Chapter 665 Beast Stampede. Chapter 665 Beast Stampede. Su Zimo, Monkey, the Spirit Tiger, Little Fox and Golden Lion made their way to the center of the ancient battlefield. The fight for the Golden Core Phenomenon ranking would take place half a year later. The location would be at the center region of the ancient battlefield, Myriad Phenomenon City. Su Zimo did not know if Xiaoning entered this time round, nor did he know where Mingjin was. However, the greatest possibility of locating the both of them would be in Myriad Phenomenon City. That was because every single cultivator that entered the ancient battlefield would try their best to rush towards Myriad Phenomenon City. Even cultivators who knew that they wouldn't be contesting for a position on the Golden Core Phenomenon ranking would rush over as well to witness the glory of all the paragons in Tianhuang mainland and a clash between countless ancient phenomenons. This was a rare battle that happened once in 100 years. Nobody wanted to miss it. Even if they merely watched by the sidelines, it would only be beneficial for their personal cultivations. Furthermore, the ancient battlefield was boundless, and searching for two people without any clues would be equivalent to searching for a needle in a haystack. Half a year later, the various major sects and factions of Tianhuang mainland would gather in Myriad Phenomenon City along with all the heretical doctrines, unorthodox groups and itinerant cultivators. With that crowd, it would be easier to get news about anything. Even if Su Zimo could not find the two of them by then, there was a high chance he would be able to obtain some useful information. Of course, although there were millions of cultivators that entered the ancient battlefield, there might only be less than half of them who could arrive at Myriad Phenomenon City eventually. Apart from the countless demon beasts and ancient living beings that resided in the intermediate ancient battlefield to begin with, demon races from Tianhuang mainland would also be teleported in to fight for treasures and resources. With everyone rushing towards Myriad Phenomenon City at the center, the journey was extremely treacherous. For most cultivators, they would choose to travel during daytime. At night, they would try their best to look for gathering grounds to rest. They would then continue traveling after day arrived. Not many people dared to travel at night in the ancient battlefield where birds and beasts roamed. However, for Su Zimo's group, day or night made no difference to them. Apart from Su Zimo, the other four were true blue spirit demons. Although there were only 5 of them in a group, none of them were to be trifled with. Notwithstanding Su Zimo, Monkey, and the spirit tiger. Although the golden lion was suppressed by Su Zimo with ease, it was a pure-blooded ferocious beast to begin with. Furthermore, it was from the golden lion race of Wild Lion Ridge and had an extraordinary bloodline that surpassed most demons. Most demon beasts could not even approach the little fox that seemed the weakest. Foxes were natural-born seductresses and could bewitch the masses just by standing at a spot. A single beckon of her finger, or a release of fragrance, was enough to subdue a group of demons. The spirit tiger was long charmed out of its wits by the little fox. Along the way, the spirit tiger followed behind the little fox and expressed concern constantly while wagging its tail. It almost became a mount for the little fox. Its pandering expressions naturally attracted quite a few slaps from Monkey again. However, the little fox would avoid as far as she could each time. If she truly couldn't avoid, she would revert to her true form and bury herself into Su Zimo's embrace. The spirit tiger could only watch with frustration. During this period of time, each time the little fox hid herself in Su Zimo's embrace, the spirit tiger would sigh constantly with a miserable expression. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. Although there were naturally fights against other demons during this period of time, they got out perfectly fine each time. The golden lion had also started getting chummier with Monkey and the spirit tiger and integrated itself into the group. This night, Su Zimo's group continued ahead. The man had elegant features and flowing green robes, while the young lady had peerless features that could bewitch the masses. To be honest, Su Zimo and the little fox looked extremely compatible as they walked together side by side at the front. Monkey, the spirit tiger, and golden lion followed behind. The spirit tiger's head was slumped listlessly. The golden lion asked curiously, "Brother Tiger, why haven't you been bugging the little fox recently?" With its hands behind its back, the spirit tiger raised its head slightly and sighed with a fake look of wisdom. "Sigh, I've fallen out of love." Monkey rolled its eyes and snorted with a chuckle. The golden lion consoled, "Don't worry, Brother Tiger. When we return to Wild Lion Ridge, I'll introduce some girls for you." "For real?" The spirit tiger's eyes lit up and its worried look vanished instantly, almost drooling from the mouth. Definitely! The golden lion patted its chest loudly. What a bro! The spirit tiger hugged the golden lion by the shoulder with one arm excitedly. Monkey pouted its lips and could not be bothered with the two of them. Right then, Zimos suddenly frowned. His ears twitched, and he said darkly, Everyone, watch out! A beast stampede is charging over here! Beast stampede. Monkey narrowed its gaze and his eyes shone with a scarlet glint of blood. Both the spirit tiger and golden lion stopped playing around and their expressions turned grim. The presence of a beast stampede also meant that a demon king was present. Furthermore, they were no longer at the outer perimeter of the ancient battlefield. Any demon king that could subdue a group of demons in this region and trigger a beast stampede definitely possessed frightening strength, and was not to be trifled with. In a one-on-one fight, none of them had to fear anybody. However, they would be embroiled in a bitter fight if they had to go against a beast stampede. Another while later, Monkey and the others finally felt the ground trembling. Thud! 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 It was as though a massive army was attacking. Although it was at night, Zimos' eyes were sharp and he could clearly see dust billowing in the distant horizon as a thunderous force charged over. The five of them stopped in their tracks. Not long after, the beast stampede arrived before them. The beast stampede consisted of mostly ancient remnant beasts, and a few pure-blooded ferocious beasts. Each of them looked menacing with demonic chi rumbling around them, looking as though they wanted to rip Zimos' group of five apart. However, the strange thing was that there were more than 1,000 humans in the center of the beast stampede. Although they were in human form, all of them emanated demonic chi. It was clear that they were transformed from demons. In the center of the group was a man and a woman. Standing on a war chariot, they seemed to be revered by the rest. The man had a skinny face and his expression was dark, wearing colorful clothes that seemed extremely showy. The woman beside him looked no older than 28, and she was transformed from a demon as well. Wearing green robes and trousers, her black hair was tied into a bun on the back of her head, and she looked extremely handsome. Her legs were long and slender, and could be described as perfect. The spirit tiger's eyes widened blankly once again when it caught sight of the woman's legs. Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. The woman seemed to be restrained with a thin, rainbow-colored thread coiling around her. She could not move at all, and even her lips were sealed such that she could not speak. The rainbow thread coiled around all the ferocious beasts in the beast stampede as well. The other end of the rainbow thread led to the hands of the 1,000-odd group of humanoid demon beasts. It was obvious that the beast stampede was subdued by the humanoid demon beasts. The 1,000-odd demon beasts, on the other hand, were subservient to the man with colorful robes on the war chariot. The colorful-robed man was the demon king of the beast stampede. The moment she caught sight of Zimo's group, the Longdi woman on the war chariot seemed agitated and cried endlessly with an indescribable expression in her eyes. Chapter 666 Thousand Spider Sand Dune. Chapter 666 Thousand Spider Sand Dune. It was extremely normal for demon beasts to be suppressed and captured between one another. Although they could vaguely guess that the Longdi woman was begging them for help, Zimo's group could not interfere directly. That was no logic to speak of in the law of the jungle, where it was survival of the fittest. Furthermore, this was the ancient battlefield. Although Zimo retracted his gaze, the Longdi woman did not give up and continued to yell with all her might. However, she could only let out a muffled sound. The colorful-robed man smiled. "Stop kicking up a fuss. These few demon beasts can barely save themselves, let alone you. Just be obedient, and I don't make things difficult for you. Roar!" In the 1,000-odd group, a man's expression changed and he suddenly released the thread in his hands. An ancient remnant beast roared and charged forward. It arrived before Zimo in the blink of an eye. The ancient remnant beast had a menacing gaze and opened its bloody mouth, causing the nasty stench in its mouth to surge forward. Zimo's expression did not change at all, and he only attacked when the demon beast was close to him. He merely extended his palm simply without any special technique, slapping the ancient remnant beast fiercely on the cheek. Bang! The massive body of the ancient remnant beast was sent flying, and it was no longer breathing by the time it landed. Although its head was intact, everything that was inside was already smashed into sludge. It was clean and precise. The colorful-robed man narrowed his gaze gently. There were way too many cultivators in the ancient battlefield who could kill ancient remnant beasts. However, few could do it as casually as this man. "Do you have a death wish?" Monkey was the first to lose its temper. Its eyes were bloodshot as it circulated blood chi, causing demonic chi to spread. In a single move, it transformed into its true form and stomped on the ground heavily with its massive feet. There was a boom and the ground shook. With a prideful expression and fierce gaze, Monkey glared at the colorful-robed man on the war chariot. It would be the first to charge forward as long as Su Zimo ordered. For Monkey, it did not matter who its opponents were or the situation ahead. It would fight the moment it was bothered. Roar! Roar! The golden lion and spirit tiger roared at the same time as well, with cracking sounds echoing from the depths of their bones. Their bodies shuddered and they reverted to their true forms as well. For demons, their peak combat strength could only be released in their true forms. Su Zimo defended in front of the little fox with an icy stare, and released his blood chi. Tough and ferocious, it surged into the air like a blazing cauldron. The Longdi woman was extremely excited at the sight of that. However, the colorful-robed man's pupils constricted and his gaze turned evidently darker. Although the monkey, tiger and lion had strong auras with rich demonic chi, none of them made him feel threatened. However, he sensed a hint of danger from the green-robed man. It was extremely dangerous. The man's blood chi was way too rich. The colorful-robed man had a feeling that if a fight broke out between both parties, although he could kill the 5 of them with the help of the beast Stampede, he would definitely suffer immense losses as well. With a dark expression, the colorful-robed man contemplated his options internally. On the other end, Su Zimo did not make a move either. After all, there was no deep hatred between them. Furthermore, he could also sense that the colorful-robed man's background was far from simple. Coupled with the presence of the beast Stampede, it would be for the best if they could avoid this fight. Of course, Su Zimo was naturally fearless. At that moment, his thoughts were mostly focused on the Longdi woman beside the colorful-robed man. For some reason, he felt that the Longdi woman's gaze was familiar. However, even upon careful recollection, he was certain that he had not seen this woman before. They seemed to be the poison spider race from one of the 8 demon regions, the Thousand Spider Sand Dune. There's a high chance that the demon king of the beast Stampede, the colorful-robed man, is from the royalty of the rainbow spider race and is a rainbow wolf spider. With a grim expression, the golden lion whispered, "Everyone be careful. These spiders are extremely poisonous. It's said that even the web of a rainbow wolf spider is laced with poison, and it won't take long for one to melt into pus once they are trapped in it." Su Zimo nodded silently. The intermediate ancient battlefield was truly a gathering place for paragons and demons. Within the short span of a month, they had already encountered demon beasts of 2 demon regions. Fufu. The colorful-robed man suddenly laughed and said loudly, "Golden Lion race. All of you should be from the Wild Lion Ridge?" "You are right, my true form is the Rainbow Wolf Spider and I'm from the Thousand Spider Sand Dune. Since you're a fellow Taoist from the Wild Lion Ridge, there's no need for us to fight." After contemplating, the colorful-robed man chose not to attack. His aim was to fight for the resources and treasures in the ancient battlefield such as the soul-nourishing blood ginseng. There was no need for him to fight to the death with these 5 people before him. With the colorful-robed man's compromise, Su Zimo did not get aggressive either and merely nodded calmly. Monkey shrugged with an indifferent attitude. The spirit tiger and golden lion exchanged glances and both heaved sighs of relief. The little fox calmed down as well. Thud! 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 The beast Stampede rumbled and wrapped around Su Zimo's group before advancing. Hoo-hoo-hoo! The Longdi woman on the war chariot screamed repeatedly with an anxious expression. How irritating! Extending a finger, the colorful-robed man tapped the woman on the forehead. The woman shuddered and her face turned purplish. She could no longer speak and merely looked at Suzimo, Monkey, and the spirit tiger with widened eyes. Those eyes were filled with absolute despair. The distance between both parties increased as the war chariot left. The woman closed her eyes and 2 streams of warm tears flowed silently from the corner of her eyes. Dust billowed and gradually extended into the distance. Frowning, Suzimo turned towards the direction of the beast's stampede with a pensive expression. A long while later, he turned back and shook his head before continuing forward. That woman is rather pitiful, the little fox said softly with pursed lips. The spirit tiger sighed as well. For a moment I had the urge to save her. Actually, there's no need for that, the golden lion remarked. If we have to rescue everyone we come across, there will be way too many people along the way we have to save. We've got to save rabbits from being eaten by snakes, goats from being eaten by wolves. All lives in the world have to be saved. How can we save them all? That makes sense. The spirit tiger nodded. After a while, it could not help but turn to Monkey, asking, "Boss, what do you think?" Monkey stifled a chuckle. If I were you, I'd just do what I want. If I want to save somebody, I'd do it. It's bloody irritating to be wishy-washy, just do what you like. While that's the case, I can't possibly implicate all of us because of a moment of recklessness, the spirit tiger remarked with a bitter expression. The golden lion closed in and whispered, "Brother Tiger, you fell for her, right? Get lost." The spirit tiger barked. Heis. After a few more steps, the spirit tiger sighed once more. For some reason, it felt like I knew that woman. It's really strange. Suddenly, Monkey frowned and murmured, "Now that you mention it, I seem to have that feeling too." When he heard that, Suzimo suddenly paused in his tracks and the spirit tiger nearly knocked into him in its distraction. Turning around slowly, a cold glint flashed in Suzimo's eyes. Chapter 667 Stupid Bird, Stupid Bird. Is that you? Chapter 667 Stupid Bird, Stupid Bird. Is that you? The beast's stampede moved and demonic chi filled the air with dust billowing through the vast plains. Any individual demons along the way avoided them a long time ago. In the center of the war chariot, the colorful-robed man had a moody expression. He eyed the woman beside him and remarked coldly, "You had better be obedient. If I didn't require your blood to cultivate daily, I would have killed you a long time ago." The woman lowered her head and her eyes were filled with dejection, as though she had lost her soul. "Don't dream that anyone would come and save you," the colorful-robed man sneered. "In the ancient battlefield, any sect and faction that comes across the rainbow wolf spider race will have to keep their distance." He was not entirely bragging by that. It was especially so at night. Even the successors of super sects would not want to openly provoke this group of demons. Those few people earlier on knew their places. Otherwise, they would be nothing but corpses by now. The colorful-robed man harumphed. Swish! Suddenly, the sound of clothes fluttering tore through the air behind them. Sensing something, the colorful-robed man turned around. Not far away, a green-colored figure was speeding towards them at lightning speed. He was at the horizon a moment earlier, but in the blink of an eye, he arrived right before them. The green-robed cultivator that they encountered earlier had backtracked. The 4 people behind the green-robed cultivator gradually caught up as well. Suzimo stood in the air above the beast stampede and ignored the countless demon beasts with menacing looks and gaping, bloody mouths. With a calm expression, he held back the war chariot forcefully. The colorful-robed man's gaze narrowed and his pupils constricted with a momentary flash of killing intent. When the woman caught sight of that, she was visibly agitated. However, she could not speak. Audacious! Insolent! A few young men stood out from both sides of the war chariot, shouting with unfriendly expressions. Thin threads could be seen flickering faintly from their fingertips, as though they could attack at any moment. Roar! The beast Stampede let out a ferocious roar that shook the world as well. However, be it monkey, the spirit tiger or golden lion, all of them were much stronger mentally after experiencing the battle in the ancient city. Furthermore, they had been through countless fights in the days after, and they could no longer be threatened by a scene as such. Even the little fox who was the most timid merely had a slightly paler expression right now. However, her gaze was resolute without any trace of fear. To her, she would follow Su Zimo on anything he decided on without hesitation, even if it was a mountain of blades or sea of flames ahead. The colorful robed man gestured for silence by pushing down his palms. Gradually, the roaring of the beast Stampede calmed down. Raising his brow slightly, the colorful robed man asked coolly, "What's the meaning of this, fellow Taoist?" After standing in the way of the war chariot, Su Zimo's gaze had been fixed on the Longdi woman's face, as though he was trying to make out something. It was the same for Monkey and the spirit tiger. After gazing at the woman deeply, Su Zimo shifted his gaze towards the colorful robed man and said indifferently, "I suddenly thought of something, so I returned to verify it." "Oh?" The colorful robed man frowned and asked, "What?" Expressionlessly, Su Zimo pointed to the woman on the war chariot. "Please remove the seal on her mouth. I've got a few questions for her." Su Zimo's tone sounded impolite. Although he said please, it sounded more like an order. "Who are you to talk to the young master as such?" A rainbow wolf spider at the side stood out and shouted. The spirit tiger widened its eyes and barked. "Who are you to talk to my master as such too? There's no room for you to talk here, scram aside. You must have a death wish." The 1,000-odd rainbow wolf spiders revealed cold, menacing expressions as the demonic chi within them surged. Their bones shifted and the flesh on their faces expanded. Thin, rainbow-colored fur appeared on their skin as sharp, green mouthparts pointed out of their mouths with a nauseating stench. The colorful robed man's expression turned cold as well. With a dark gaze, he replied in an unfriendly manner, "I'd advise you to not push your luck. I was already starting to regret letting you guys off earlier on. Don't force me to change my mind." Bang! 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 Beside the war chariot, explosions sounded from the bodies of dozens of young men. In the blink of an eye, their bodies expanded, and they transformed into terrifying gigantic spiders. With the head of a wolf and the body of a spider, their bodies were lined with thin fur, and they had 8 legs with demonic chi surging into the air. Every single leg had a different color. Different colored spider silk shot out of their massive abdomens thickly, as though they could form a massive web that could blanket the world at any moment. Rainbow wolf spider. Monkey twisted its neck and its eyes shone scarlet. Its fists crackled repeatedly as battle intent surged through it. The tension was tight on both sides. As long as Su Zimo or the colorful robed man made a single wrong statement, a huge battle could be triggered. Suddenly, Su Zimo chuckled. "Well, I'll back off then and not ask her about those questions. The wise recognize their circumstances." The colorful robed man nodded. "You guys had better disappear from my sights before I change my mind otherwise." "Hold on." Before the colorful robed man could finish, Su Zimo interrupted. "I'm not going to ask her anything, but please remove the seal on her. I want to see her true form." For some unknown reason, the colorful robed man felt an uneasy feeling in his heart. Naturally, there was no way he would heed Su Zimo's orders that easily and remove the seal on the woman. After contemplating, the colorful robed man said in a dark voice, "There's nothing much to her true form. At the most, she's just an extremely ordinary immortal crane." His statement removed all doubts in everyone's hearts. Su Zimo retracted his smile and nodded as his expression gradually turned cold. "Well, very well." Monkey's eyes shone brightly scarlet. The spirit tiger was already at its limits a long time ago, yelling towards the Longdi woman agitatedly. "Stupid bird, stupid bird! Is that you?" The Longdi woman's eyes reddened and tears streamed down. Vaguely sensing something, the colorful robed man frowned and asked, "You know one another? There's no need for you to change your mind any longer." Su Zimo's gaze was dark as he glared at the colorful-robed man with a chilling, killing intent, snarling word by word. That's because I've already changed my mind. Before his sentence was finished, a blood-colored saber had already appeared in Su Zimo's hands. 6 spirit patterns shone. Instantly, blood chi surged into the air. It was Blood Quencher that had evolved into a Khanate spirit weapon. Dong! Dong! Monkey circulated its inner core and blood chi surged as it reverted to its true form. Its eyes were bloodshot, and it had a torrential ferocity, pounding against its chest heavily with loud, dull thuds. The spirit tiger was extremely emotional and yelled, "Stupid bird, don't be afraid! Hu Batian is here to save you!" There was nothing that could stop them. It did not matter if there was an endless beast stampede before them. It did not matter if the rainbow wolf spider was from one of the 8 demon regions. It did not matter if there were only 5 of them. The moment they recognized the identity of the woman, they had to save her even if it cost their lives. Roar! There was a roar accompanied by a thunderous flash of lightning. The spirit tiger reverted to its true form and electric currents shot through its eyes. Its might was ferocious, and its aura was frightening. The golden lion and the little fox reverted to their true forms as well. Chapter 668 Massive Battle. Chapter 668 Massive Battle. Kill! Su Zimo roared and gripped Blood Quencher with both hands. His blood chi surged as he descended from the skies, slashing down towards the colorful-robed man. A blood beam extended 100 feet and burst forth. The force of that slash was extremely strong with a furious killing intent that threatened to rip the voids apart. The expression of the colorful-robed man changed slightly. He could sense that if he were to take the slash head-on, he would definitely suffer a huge loss given the amount of power it contained. Tapping lightly off his heel, the colorful-robed man dodged to the side nimbly. The blood beam descended heavily onto the war chariot. With a boom, that terrifying power split the war chariot into pieces. A set of green robes fluttered. Before the war chariot was smashed, Su Zimo had already reached out to rescue the woman. Blood Quencher danced around the woman, and a blood beam flashed. Although Blood Quencher was huge, it was fluid as water in the hands of Su Zimo. It sliced off all the spider silk on the woman without injuring her at all. Su Zimo gripped the woman by the wrist and circulated his inner core, sending a rich demonic chi into the latter's body. Before long, he located the seals within her body. Demonic chi surged forward like a tide. Bang! 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 The woman shuddered briefly and her seals were removed, reverting her to her true form. There was a red patch on her crown as she spread her wings and screeched. It was indeed the little immortal crane from Ethereal Peak. Little Crane was a little different from ordinary immortal cranes. Ordinary immortal cranes had snow-white bodies, but Little Crane's body had a tinge of jade green to it. It was extremely easy to differentiate them. Su Zimo could clearly sense that the blood chi within Little Crane had deteriorated to a severe extent. Although she could revert to her true form, she had no combat strength. "Protect her, I'll go kill those spiders," Su Zimo ordered murderously with a cold gaze. Monkey, the spirit tiger and golden lion huddled in swiftly and protected the little crane and fox within their midst in a circle. With that, they clashed intensely against the incoming beast stampede. Click! Clack! Click! Dust and gravel flew from the ground. A giant scarlet centipede that was dozens of feet long surged forward. Its 100 legs were sharp as daggers, causing sparks to fly as it crawled on the ground. Emanating a thick demonic chi, it exuded a stench that was nauseating. The moment the giant centipede lunged forward, the spirit tiger leaped with an open mouth. Reaching out with its claws, it grabbed the centipede by the body and chomped down fiercely on the latter's neck. Snap! The formidable bite strength of the spirit tiger snapped the giant centipede's neck instantly. The poisonous demonic chi that it released was instantly purged away by the power of thunder that was flashing on the spirit tiger's body. Roar! The golden lion's blood chi surged as it let out a deafening roar to the front. The sound wave rumbled and a ripple surfaced. A gray wolf that just rushed forward bled from all 7 orifices instantly. Its brain was crushed into sludge by the roar, and it died on the spot. Among beasts, a lion's roar possessed the strongest roar power and was tough and invincible. In fact, demons and fiends could be purged by its roar. In the ancient era, mighty figures of the Buddhist sect comprehended a sound secret technique after fighting against the lion race. It was the lion roar technique of the modern Buddhist sections. Another few ancient remnant beasts were stunned for a moment. Before they snapped out of their stupor, the golden lion had already pounced forward and bit them to death. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A ground dragon 100 feet long with a body the width of a bucket shook its head and swept its tail. With a ferocious glare, it charged towards Monkey. Resembling lizards, ground dragons were not dragons and belonged to a branch of the crocodile race. They merely had a trickle of bloodline from the dragon race. They had massive strength and scales all over their bodies that made them invulnerable. It was difficult to break through a ground dragon's defense even with a perfect spirit weapon. The weak spot of a ground dragon was their abdomen. That was the only part of their body that was not covered with scales. However, ground dragons were smart. Even after forming their inner cores, they rarely traveled through the air and would stick closely to the ground most of the time so that their opponents would not get any chance at all. Dust billowed as the ground dragon charged with its bared mouth that was lined with sharp fangs, biting towards Monkey's calf. If that bite landed, Monkey's calf would have been snapped instantly. At the same time, a heaven-devouring mastiff seized the opportunity to lunge over from the side. With a ferocious stance, it leaped and aimed to bite Monkey's throat. Monkey's eyes were filled with rage as it raised its leg the moment the ground dragon bit on them. Crack! The ground dragon missed. At the same time, Monkey smashed down heavily with its raised leg. Boom! Its massive feet crashed heavily onto the ground dragon's head, sending forth a terrifying amount of strength. Sinking into the mud, the ground dragon's head was smashed by Monkey. On the other side, Monkey reached out and grabbed the heaven-devouring mastiff by its jaws. Ugh! Monkey's eyes shone brightly scarlet and instantly, both its arms grew with intertwining muscles that resembled a tough, firm trunk of an ancient tree. Die! Roaring, Monkey exerted strength in both arms and yanked the jaws of the heaven-devouring mastiff in opposite directions. Shing! A blood mist spewed out. Organs splattered everywhere with a blood stench. The heaven-devouring mastiff was torn into 2 alive by Monkey. Monkey's body was dyed red with blood as it tossed the torn carcass of the heaven-devouring mastiff to the ground casually. With a torrential ferocity, it whirled its arms and punched another incoming ferocious beast. Although the little fox was protected in the middle by Monkey and the others, she was not idle. An ancient gigantic elephant charged over with a massive body that resembled a mountain. With a frightening might, it swung its massive trunk wildly as though it could knock out all the stars up in the skies. The power of a gigantic elephant was extremely scary and was even comparable to the dragon race. This was also the origin of the power of a dragon elephant. The triangular formation of Monkey, the spirit tiger, and the golden lion would most likely be knocked apart instantly if the ancient gigantic elephant charged over. The little fox glared into the eyes of the ancient gigantic elephant, and a demonic glint shone in her beautiful eyes. The speed of the ancient gigantic elephant slowed down gradually, and its consciousness turned hazy. Opening her mouth slightly, the little fox breathed out a fog of fragrance. Instantly, the eyes of the ancient gigantic elephant turned dazed after it breathed in the fragrance. Go, stop them! The voice of the little fox sounded. As though it had lost its soul, the ancient gigantic elephant obeyed the little fox and reversed into the beast's stampede, swinging its thick trunk to kill wildly. The elephant trunk was like an ancient divine whip, and any living being struck by it had their bones and tendons snapped instantly. The gargantuan body crushed everything in its path, and some demon beasts that did not manage to dodge in time were struck so badly they were severely injured and coughed blood. Chaos started to spread out within the beast's stampede. However, the chaos could not be compared to the ferocious beast stampede, merely dissipating instantly like ripples in a river. Although the ancient gigantic elephant was immensely powerful, it could not withstand the force of the beast's stampede. In the blink of an eye, it was drowned by the endless beast's stampede, leaving behind nothing but a carcass. The situation was not optimistic for Monkey, the spirit tiger, and golden lion as well. Individually, each of them had torrential combat strength, and within this short period of time, there were already hundreds of demon beast carcasses beneath their feet. However, the beast's stampede was endless and charged relentlessly. Injuries started appearing on their bodies one after another inevitably, and fresh blood seeped. They had no way of retreat for this battle. Su Zimo had already held back all the clansmen from the rainbow wolf spider race. However, the triangular formation of Monkey and the other two would have been broken through a long time ago if the rainbow wolf spiders were involved. On the other side, the battle was even more intense, with Su Zimo taking on the rainbow wolf spiders and the beast stampede single-handedly. Chapter 669 All-Encompassing Web. Chapter 669 All-Encompassing Web. A blood mist spread in midair, and it was extremely sharp. The two distinct immortality and fiend saber techniques, Sea Calming and Azura Saber, functioned perfectly and smoothly in Su Zimo's hands without any sluggishness. Countercurrent, Raging Tides, Vortex and Ripple. Ghost Howl, Blood Flow, Hell, White Bones, Phantom and Corpse. Although Su Zimo was alone with his saber on the battlefield, in the eyes of the many rainbow wolf spiders, it was as though there was a raging tide that was crashing onto shore. At the side, the sound of ghosts wailing could be heard, and there were white bones beneath their feet. Phantoms appeared everywhere as corpses climbed out from blood pools like a grisly purgatory. This was force. At the level of force, a cultivator's mental state would be affected, and various surreal and ridiculous illusions would appear before them. In the mortal realm, commoners would experience massive pressure, and get all jittery when they meet the Emperor. In reality, it was because they were affected by the force of the Emperor. At that moment, there were already dozens of rainbow wolf spider carcasses on the ground. Against the shroud of the terrifying saber stance, all it took was a brief moment of distraction for the rainbow wolf spiders to be chopped up, leaving green, sticky blood oozing everywhere. The blood of rainbow wolf spiders was filled with toxic poison. When it splashed onto the ground, the surrounding flora withered in the blink of an eye. The initially moist mud started drying up and even showed signs of turning into gravel and sand. Some of the demon beasts that could not dodge in time were splattered by the blood of the rainbow wolf spiders. Within 10 breaths, they would collapse to the ground. The toxicity of the poison was rare in this world. Su Zimo's blood chi was fervent, like a blazing cauldron. The demonic chi and poison were evaporated into emptiness before they could even get close. The colorful-robed man had already reverted to his true form. Compared to the other rainbow wolf spiders, he had the smallest frame. The moment he landed on the ground with his 8 legs, his movement technique was unusual, and he was extremely swift. He did not fight Su Zimo head-on at all. Kikiki! The colorful-robed man let out a series of piercing sounds, as though it was commanding its clansmen at the side. Under his command, the surrounding rainbow wolf spiders created a formation rapidly at a shocking swift speed. They no longer fought Su Zimo head-on and chose to revolve around him rapidly instead. Swoosh! 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 As the rainbow wolf spiders darted around, rainbow silk shot out from their abdomens, coiling around Blood Quencher. Blood Quencher was extremely sharp, and coupled with Su Zimo's burst power, it could destroy any supreme-grade spirit weapon with ease. However, the silk of the rainbow wolf spider was extremely tenacious. Even with the sharpness of the Blood Quencher, it could not easily sever the endless spider silk that was wrapping around it. Furthermore, the silk was poisonous to begin with, causing the light on Blood Quencher to dim down as its blood beam diminished rapidly. Su Zimo dominated the battlefield and was still undefeated. None of the rainbow wolf spiders could withstand his might. However, not long after, Blood Quencher was wrapped in endless spider silk. Each time he swung the saber, Su Zimo felt a great resistance, as though he was in a swamp. A great part of the reason why most cultivators were not willing to provoke rainbow wolf spiders was because their silk was a spirit weapon that countered cultivators. The spider silk was extremely formidable. Thankfully, Blood Quencher was a connate spirit weapon. If it was an ordinary supreme-grade spirit weapon, it would have been destroyed a long time ago after being covered by the endless spider silk. The reason why Su Zimo did not release his illumination sword formation was also because he noticed that, although the sword formation was powerful, it was created using supreme-grade flying swords. As long as something happened to one of the flying swords, the entire sword formation would not be able to function normally. The disadvantages outweighed the advantages. In truth, for the past 20 years, Su Zimo had been pondering about how he could raise the grade of that set of flying swords once more. All he needed was for each flying sword to be slightly stronger. The combined increase in strength would be even more obvious with the 27 flying swords combined. If the illumination sword formation was created, its power would be even more terrifying. However, the battlefield was filled with changes and there was no room for Su Zimo to ponder excessively. Although more than 100 rainbow wolf spiders have fallen and the number was still increasing, Blood Quencher was already trapped by an endless amount of spider silk. It was almost like a cocoon, and the blade could no longer be seen. Su Zimo had no choice but to let go. It wasn't because Blood Quencher was not sharp enough. Rather, the eternal truth of the world was that everything had a counter. Fufufu. The colorful robed man smiled smugly and said in a creepy manner, "Do you think that you're able to challenge the dignity of the rainbow wolf spider race just because you have a connate spirit weapon? I will make you pay for the deaths of my clansmen." Although Su Zimo lost Blood Quencher, there was still no fear in his expression as he stood in midair and sneered. "At the end of the day, you're all nothing but ugly bugs. It doesn't matter how many of you are killed. Haven't you noticed the situation you're in?" The colorful robed man reared his head in laughter. "You've already fallen into my rainbow web formation and you're nothing but a trapped bird. There's no way you can escape." Swoosh! 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 Countless rainbow wolf spiders were still revolving in midair, spitting silk. Unknowingly, the rainbow wolf spiders had already weaved a gigantic spiderweb around Su Zimo. The dense silk weaved together, and had no gaps between them. At the same time, the spiderweb was still getting thicker. It was isolating him from the outside world completely. There was no air or spirit chi here. He was completely sealed and was unable to utilize any energy from the outside world. Su Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. Given his strength, he could rip off a single thread of silk without the use of any weapons. However, millions of threads weaved together endlessly formed an all-encompassing web that could not be broken free from. The more he struggled, the deeper he would sink within. "I can sense that your blood chi is extremely strong and rich with a robust life force essence." The rainbow wolf spider smiled menacingly. "Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you directly. I will keep you and devour your blood bit by bit. Hee hee, I believe that your blood will definitely be delicious." Su Zimo's gaze turned cold as he said icily, "Drink my blood? You're not going to be alive to do that. Reel in the web!" The colorful robed man shouted. Creak! Creak! The massive spider web pulsated and started shrinking. Although the spider web looked bright and colorful, it was poisonous and filled with killing intent. Thick scarlet demonic chi shrouded around Su Zimo. However, the demonic chi sizzled as the rainbow spiderweb enveloped him. Interesting. His eyes shimmered as he murmured. He had cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. Although he was only at the core formation section, his demonic chi was enough to defend against most damage. To think that the web of these rainbow wolf spiders was able to corrode his demonic chi. A race that could reign over a demon region was nothing to be scoffed at. However, the same way the rainbow spiderweb countered Blood Quencher, there was always a counter to everything in this world. Chapter 670 Flames of the Soaring Serpent. Chapter 670 Flames of the Soaring Serpent. More rainbow wolf spiders started climbing up and spitting silk repeatedly, weaving layer over layer on that gigantic colorful cocoon. There were also some rainbow wolf spiders that stood all around, moving their 8 legs to reel in the spiderweb. That gigantic cocoon was shrinking continuously. The remaining space Su Zimo had was decreasing. In the cocoon, Su Zimo was expressionless. His golden core appeared gradually from the black hole in his dantian and started circulating. A shuddering aura spread from within his body. It was bright and scorching. Crack! 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 In that instant, the earth and mountains shook. Mountains toppled and the ground cracked, revealing an unsettling fissure. Bang! Boom! Boom! Volcano erupted as balls of scarlet lava surged from underground, forming a red sea that could even melt rocks. The heat within the cocoon rose rapidly. When the lava splashed onto the rainbow spiderweb, wisps of green smoke rose instantly. Although the spiderweb was burned and its light dimmed, it did not break. When he sensed what was happening inside, the colorful-robed man's pupils constricted and his expression changed slightly. The silk of the rainbow wolf spider was indeed a counter to most spirit weapons. However, there was always a counter to everything, and the greatest nemesis to the silk was fire. Thankfully, the rainbow wolf spiders were royalty of the spider race and had powerful bloodlines. They cultivated unique cultivation techniques that made their silk exceptionally tenacious, such that it could defend against most fire. If it was any other spider, the cocoon would have been burned into ashes by the flames a long time ago. When he saw that the cocoon was merely charred without any lethal damage, the colorful-robed man heaved a sigh of relief and sneered. "You want to burn the silk of rainbow wolf spiders using that level of flames? You must be dreaming!" Although he said that, the colorful-robed man was in cold sweat moments earlier. In the cultivation world, rainbow wolf spiders feared cultivators of a few supersections. For example, of the 6 Buddhist monasteries, monks of Dipamkara Monastery cultivate a ball of true fire in their bodies at the start of their cultivation paths. It was extremely strong and illuminated their organs, igniting their spirits. If a rainbow wolf spider got into contact with the true fire of a Dipamkara Monastery monk, it could be severely injured or even burned into ashes. Suddenly, the colorful-robed man's expression changed. He could sense that the temperature in the cocoon was rising at a scary speed and was not at its limits yet. From a fissure in the ground, a menacing head stuck out with a frightening aura. It had the head of a snake, the body of an anaconda, and was scarlet red all over its body. Its scales were stacked on top of one another tightly with no gaps, burning with a thin layer of flames. Swoosh! The living being rose with a single leap, and a pair of scarlet wings blazing with flames burst forth from its back. With each flap, a heatwave would be sent forth. The eyes of the colorful-robed man widened as he murmured, "Snake head, anaconda body, dragon scales, phoenix wings, no horns above its head or limbs beneath its abdomen. This is..." A memory that was embedded deep in its bloodline gradually came to mind. "Soaring Serpent!" the colorful-robed man exclaimed in shock. Deep in its soul, there was a fear that stemmed from the primordial era, causing it to shiver uncontrollably. The spirit fire was a divine being of the flames in the primordial era and was not inferior to phoenixes in reputation. However, that frightening living being had gone extinct a long time ago in the primordial era. It could be considered as the greatest nemesis for the rainbow wolf spiders. Or rather, in the primordial era, that golden era where the 10,000 races ruled, the rainbow wolf spider race was nothing in the eyes of the soaring serpents. The colorful-robed man truly had not imagined that Su Zimo would be able to summon this primordial divine being. The temperature in the cocoon continued rising. Standing in the blazing flames, Su Zimo's hair danced. His aura was torrential as he stood in the scarlet lava with electric eyes. The figure of the primordial soaring serpent rose continuously behind him. It was an extremely shocking sight. Many rainbow wolf spiders stood rooted to the spot, and did not escape immediately. When it sensed that it was being restricted, the soaring serpent twisted its head and surveyed the surroundings. Its cold eyes contained an endless ferocity and fury as it reared its head and hissed with its darting tongue. It was a divine being of the flames with a noble bloodline. In the primordial era, the rainbow wolf spiders were no different than ants to it. Now that thousands of years had passed and it was reborn, there was no way it was going to be insulted by such bugs. Pissed! 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 The primordial soaring serpent flapped its blazing wings and fire spewed from its eyes as it opened its gigantic mouth to spit out streams of scorching red lava. The lava that came from the mouth of the primordial soaring serpent was much scarier than the lava flowing underground. Swoosh! The gigantic cocoon burst into flames instantly. Ah! Zemo tore into the air, rearing his head as he howled. The rainbow wolf spiders that were climbing on the cocoon were unable to escape at all, screeching terribly as they were engulfed in the sea of flames. Those flames were absolutely destructive for them. In the blink of an eye, the cocoon turned into ashes. The flames spread and blazed through the vast lands. A few hundred rainbow wolf spiders perished in the sea of flames without any corpses left. Even if any rainbow wolf spider escaped from the sea of flames, a single spark that landed on them was enough to burn them completely. That was the terror of the soaring serpent flames. Roar! Roar! The lava surged and extended underground thousands of kilometers. The entire beast stampede went into chaos, howling constantly as everyone escaped in fear of being burned by the scarlet lava. The soaring serpent was sentient and flew with the flames to hunt after the remaining rainbow wolf spiders. Zemo shifted his gaze and glared at the colorful-robed man who was running. Instantly, he chased after the latter. The rainbow wolf spider was the culprit behind Little Crane's sufferings. Sticking close to the ground, the colorful-robed man scurried extremely swiftly with his 8 limbs, fleeing into the distance with dust clouds in his wake. You're still trying to escape? Zemo narrowed his eyes. Splash! His blood chi exploded and spirit energy burst forth. Swoosh! At the same time, a pair of wings appeared behind Zemo, raising his speed to its limits. He vanished from the spot, bolting forward like an arrow. The colorful-robed man did not dare to stop at all, scurrying for his life with all 8 limbs flaying. Thankfully, the rainbow wolf spiders were nimble and had swift movement techniques. Most demon beasts won't be able to catch up to them if they truly wanted to escape. Right then, a buzzing sound echoed in the colorful-robed man's ears. It was as though something was closing in rapidly. The colorful-robed man turned around. That single glance scared him out of his wits. The green-robed cultivator was not far behind him, looking murderous with a cold gaze. Furthermore, the distance between them was decreasing rapidly. If this continued, he would be caught within 10 breaths. Suddenly, the colorful-robed man stopped in his tracks and his body shrank repeatedly, turning into a spider the size of a palm. Digging with 8 limbs, he burrowed himself into the ground and vanished. Chapter 671 I'll break your 8 legs. Chapter 671 I'll break your 8 legs. Zemo's gaze turned cold. Trying to burrow away. The rainbow wolf spiders naturally had means that were superior to others for them to be able to survive from the primordial era, or they would have gone extinct a long time ago as well. It was a demonic technique that was comparable to ground burrowing. By shrinking themselves, rainbow wolf spiders could enter the mud and travel through the cramped gaps underground at an extremely fast speed. In a short period of time, they could escape more than 100 feet away. The troublesome thing was that rainbow wolf spiders glided with their legs in the gaps in the mud and caused extremely small vibrations that were almost silent. It was extremely difficult for living beings on the surface to detect them. Furthermore, there were many tiny bugs in the mud. The sound released by those bugs crawling was enough to cover the tracks of the rainbow wolf spider completely. The only way to detect the rainbow wolf spider was for a nascent soul to arrive and release their spirit consciousness. Zemo stood on the spot motionlessly and suddenly closed his eyes. He seemed to have entered a trance, and the sound of bugs, ants, and wind around him was filtered completely. Universal hearing. Zemo's senses were way too sharp after cultivating the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. Although he did not have an essence spirit, He could sense everything by opening up his 5 senses, and a clear image formed in his mind. 3 foot and 7 inches underground, there was a spider the size of a fingernail scurrying, and it was 280 feet away. Humph! Su Zimo opened his eyes and a streak of lightning flashed through them. Swash! Su Zimo had already vanished from where he was. In the blink of an eye, he arrived above the rainbow wolf spider. Conjuring a hand seal, Su Zimo's fingertips shuttled with an unusual movement. Eventually, a gigantic palm was conjured and blanketed over the path that the rainbow wolf spider was escaping on. Ma! At the same time, Su Zimo opened his mouth and said a word in Sanskrit. The demon-subduing seal was released together with the damning mantra. The rainbow wolf spider that was initially scurrying through the mud shuddered. Boom! A massive palm descended from above with an apocalyptic might that threatened to subdue everything in its way. The massive palm had yet to touch the ground. However, a gigantic handprint had already appeared in the ground deeply embedded into the mud. The rainbow wolf spider was instantly exposed, and it could no longer hide. Human, how are you trying to kill me? The rainbow wolf spider shouted. There's a demon emperor in the rainbow wolf spider race. Do you wish to die? Demon emperor? Su Zimo sneered. Do you think someone of the demon emperor's level will stand out for a puny spirit demon like you? Furthermore, we're in the ancient battlefield. Here, I'm the emperor. The moment he said that, the world shook. Who would dare to say something like that? A torrential aura surged from Su Zimo, and the power of the demon-subduing seal intensified before crushing down. Scree! The rainbow wolf spider knew that it couldn't escape and screeched shrilly. The blood chi in its body surged rapidly, and it grew to the size of 100 feet in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! Whoosh! A series of rainbow silk threads shot out from its abdomen towards the palm in the sky. The poison in the silk was extremely domineering and instantly corroded the palm that was formed from the demon-subduing seal with a sizzling sound. The palm's spirit light flickered and its power diminished. Exerting strength in all 8 legs, the rainbow wolf spider bounced and took the demon-subduing seal in midair head-on. Boom! There was a deafening sound. The demon-subduing seal dispersed. The rainbow wolf spider fell heavily to the ground, creating a huge dent. It was injured all over and one of its legs was snapped, oozing with green blood that stank. Not bad. Su Zimo nodded. You're rather capable to be able to take on my demon-subduing seal. The rainbow wolf spider struggled and crawled out of the pit, charging towards Su Zimo with bloodshot eyes and a menacing expression. Its remaining 7 legs were like sharp spears that were laced with poison. There were even reverse spikes on the surface of the spider legs. If they thrust into the flesh, they would pull out a huge chunk of flesh upon extraction, leaving behind a bloody hole. Swoosh! 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 The rainbow wolf spider looked down from above and thrust its legs in a flurry towards Su Zimo's head. Su Zimo's gaze was cold and blood quencher that was in his hands buzzed. Clang! Clang! Its blood beam expanded. Releasing a movement technique, Su Zimo shuttled through the chaotic spear shadows and circulated his blood chi. Wielding blood quencher, he slashed viciously at the critical joints of the rainbow wolf spider's legs. Green, oily blood spewed out. 3 spider legs were sliced off by Su Zimo. Apart from the spiderweb, another weapon for the rainbow wolf spiders was their legs that could go against perfect-grade spirit weapons. However, Su Zimo's attacks were targeted at the joints of the legs where they were weakest. Coupled with the sharpness of blood quencher, a single slash severed 3 of the rainbow wolf spider's legs. Ah! 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 The rainbow wolf spider let out a heart-wrenching scream. Since you drank her blood, I'm going to break all 8 of your legs. There was no pity in Su Zimo's cold eyes. He was indebted to the old immortal crane of Ethereal Peak, and little crane had accompanied him for a long time in his cave abode. Su Zimo regarded Monkey, the spirit tiger, and little crane as his kin a long time ago. If he hadn't returned earlier on, little crane would have been doomed to eternal damnation if she was brought away by the rainbow wolf spider. At that time, he would be immensely remorseful as well. The thought of that gave Suzimo a sense of trepidation. Shoo! Shoo! The rainbow wolf spider had 4 legs remaining that were intact and could support its body. Break! Suddenly it screamed and broke off 2 of its legs, turning them into long spears that shot towards Suzimo at an extremely fast speed. Puny tricks! Suzimo sneered and swung Blood Quencher in reverse, sweeping around gently like a ripple to send the 2 spider legs flying. The rainbow wolf spider was completely despondent. The killing moves that it used to dominate over the demon region were worthless in the face of this human. How could such a terrifying monster incarnate exist in the human race? Before that thought was finished, the rainbow wolf spider's eyes blurred with a flash of green robes. Before it could react, a sharp pain surged through its body and its remaining 2 legs were severed. Thump! Without any support, the rainbow wolf spider fell onto the ground. Due to the immense blood loss, its body shrank continuously and became the size of a human before long. Slumped in the mud, the rainbow wolf spider glared at Suzimo with a venomous gaze. Suzimo took out a rope from his storage bag and tossed it at the rainbow wolf spider's body. Instantly it coiled itself around the ladder. After the battle at the ancient city, he had gathered tens of thousands of storage bags. There were way too many spirit weapons in his storage bag now, and he could casually pull out a supreme-grade spirit weapon at any moment. "I'll leave your life for Little Crane!" Suzimo dragged the rainbow wolf spider and sped back where he came from. Chapter 672 by Fang Bloodline. Chapter 672 by Fang Bloodline. The battlefield had gone silent, leaving behind nothing but charred land. The soaring serpent flew into the air, spraying lava wildly and incinerating everything within 500 kilometers. The rainbow wolf spiders were not the only ones suppressed by its aura as a divine being, but other demon beasts as well. Most of the rainbow wolf spiders were already burned to death. The remaining demon beasts broke free of the rainbow wolf spider's control and fled one after another. The retreat of the beast Stampede left nothing but a pile of carcasses and bones on the ground, some of them torn and still fuming with smoke. Monkey, the spirit tiger and golden lion were filled with injuries all over and panted heavily. "Thank you, Monkey and spirit tiger." Little Crane spoke in human tongue and rubbed against Monkey and the spirit tiger's cheeks with her long beak. "It's nothing." Monkey grinned and waved it off, pointing to the spirit tiger at the side. This perverted tiger was the first to notice that something was off and mumbled the entire journey. "That was when we noticed what was amiss." The spirit tiger's heart was pounding furiously in happiness when it felt the little crane's intimate act. However, at the mention of perverted tiger from Monkey, the spirit tiger's expression turned awkward and it coughed twice to divert Little Crane's expression. Little Crane was a little confused. Monkey snickered. Both the golden lion and little fox knew the reason for that and grinned secretly. Patting itself on the chest, the spirit tiger said, "Although I've never seen you in your human form before, I recognized you right away when I saw your huge, beautiful eyes." "Humph, since when did you stare at her eyes?" "You were looking at her long legs the entire time." Monkey pouted and grumbled softly. Glaring at Monkey, the spirit tiger said hurriedly, "Don't listen to his nonsense, Little Crane." The spirit tiger looked deeply at the little crane to build up the mood, as though there was something it wanted to say. After a long time, just when the little crane was starting to get creeped out, the spirit tiger yelled, "Ah!" The golden lion and little fox were caught unaware and jolted in shock, looking at the spirit tiger in confusion, unsure what it was up to. Monkey rolled its eyes. The spirit tiger continued, "Ah, your eyes are so beautiful and pretty, like the stars and the moon and the sun and the, The golden lion frowned. The little fox went blank. Monkey was dumbfounded, as though it was struck by lightning. Was the spirit tiger making a poem? Notwithstanding how lousy the poem was, it was stuck halfway while composing it. Monkey reached out and wanted to send the spirit tiger flying with a slap. However, it truly could not muster up strength after the massive battle earlier on. Monkey could only sigh and turn away, hiding its face. It truly did not wish to look at the spirit tiger and look down on the latter from the depths of its heart. With an embarrassed expression, the spirit tiger scratched its head and was struck by inspiration, yelling, "Like a huge gemstone deep in the ocean!" The spirit tiger shrugged its head smugly and smiled to itself foolishly. In its opinion, that final statement was the vital finishing touch to make everything perfect. Little Crane felt chills run down her spine and could not help but shudder. "What do you think, Little Crane?" The spirit tiger closed in and licked its own face, asking. Glaring at the spirit tiger, Little Crane asked coldly, "Are you in heat?" The little fox could not help but burst into laughter. Monkey and the golden lion snickered wildly at the side, beaming as well. The spirit tiger had not expected Little Crane to be so sharp and direct with her words. Unable to take it at all, its face flushed red and it was thoroughly embarrassed, wanting nothing more than to find a hole to bury itself. Right then, a person flew through the air from the distant skies. He dragged a long rope tied to a spider with 8 legs severed. It was the true form of the colorful-robed man. Little Crane's eyes were filled with endless hatred and her body shivered in rage. "Are you guys all right?" Descending before everyone, Zimo took out bottles of elixirs from his storage bag. No matter what was required, internal or external application, there was something. Right now, he was in no lack of such items. Monkey and the spirit tiger applied medicine silently while taking care of Little Crane. Charging right in front of the colorful-robed man, Little Crane extended her feet and stomped on the man's body, questioning. "You said that you once saw a man that resembled me in the Thousand Spider Sand Dune. Was that for real?" The colorful-robed man was severely injured to begin with. Now that Little Crane stomped on him, his internal organs were shocked as he coughed out a mouthful of blood and panted. "Of course it's real!" Little Crane asked hurriedly with an agitated expression. "Where is he?" "That by Fang was your father?" Now that he knew he was dead for the sure, the colorful-robed man mocked gloatingly. "Unfortunately, you'll never see him ever again. He died a long time ago." "Ha!" Little Crane's body shuddered and her face turned frightfully pale. Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. Fangs were ferocious birds of the primordial era and were extremely fierce. With the ability to manipulate fire, they were one of the fiercest species of ferocious birds. However, the phoenix race was way too terrifying and reigned supreme over the ferocious birds while manipulating fire at the same time. As such, the Fang was not as well known. However, in reality, the true strength of a Fang was comparable to the divine being of the flames, Soaring Serpent. Early on, Zimo had already noticed that Little Crane looked different from ordinary immortal cranes. Ordinary immortal cranes had vermilion crowns and snow-white bodies. However, Little Crane's body also had jade-green feathers that were extremely beautiful. Everything would make sense if she had the bloodline of Fangs running in her. After all, Fangs were jade-green in color. Zimo lamented internally. "No wonder I've never seen Little Crane's father or heard the old immortal crane mention it. So, he died a long time ago." "I don't believe you." Little Crane shook her head repeatedly and glared at the colorful-robed man, saying with a quivering voice, "Why, you are lying, am I right?" "Lying?" The colorful-robed man laughed bitterly. "Your father had a death wish barging into the Thousand Spider Sand Dune thinking that he was strong. The rainbow wolf spider sucked his blood dry a long time ago. We ate his flesh and drank his blood to cultivate, ha ha ha." Little Crane had a weakened blood chi to begin with. Upon receiving this blow, her vision darkened and her head spun. "Sister Little Crane!" Little Fox rushed up to support Little Crane. Bang! Suddenly, a slap landed on the back of the colorful-robed man's head, splitting it into pieces as brain juice flowed on the ground. Shrugging his palm, the spirit tiger grumbled. "Annoying! How dare you continue laughing when your laughter sounds so disgusting? I've had it with you." Zimo heaved out a sigh of relief. He could tell that the spirit tiger did that because it did not want Little Crane to get agitated further. In truth, he was about to attack even if the spirit tiger did not do it. It was clear that the colorful-robed man meant to trigger Little Crane as much as it could, seeing that it wasn't going to survive. Su Zimo patted Little Crane gently on the shoulder and consoled her. Don't think too much. This spider was clearly spouting nonsense upon knowing that it was about to die. Things might not be as you're imagining it to be. Little Crane nodded, but the sorrow and misery in her eyes could not be concealed. Chapter 673 Nianqi's Location. Chapter 673 Nianqi's Location. Sensing the sadness in Little Crane's heart, the spirit tiger scratched its ears and cheeks. It wanted to help her share the load, but did not know what to say. Nobody knew how to console her for something as such. The atmosphere turned heavy. Looking at Su Zimo, the spirit tiger hoped that he would say something. After pondering for a moment, Su Zimo decided to distract Little Crane. Little Crane, how did you enter the intermediate ancient battlefield? Although the old immortal crane had broken through 20 years ago into a high-level fiend demon that was equivalent to the Dharma characteristic realm of humans, it was probably impossible for her to open up a teleportation point to the intermediate ancient battlefield single-handedly. As though she called something, Little Crane's expression changed all of a sudden and she turned into her human form. She grabbed Su Zimo's arm and said anxiously, "Save Nianqi! Think of a way to save Nianqi!" Su Zimo's heart sank and he took a deep breath. What happened? Calm down and speak slowly. Nianqi was the small girl that he picked up in the capital of Great Zhou, and she contained many secrets in her body. For example, Nianqi was already incredibly strong before she cultivated. Also, Nianqi did not seem to age. Or rather, time seemed like it passed extremely slowly for her. This meant that Nianqi's lifespan was much longer than anyone else of the same level. Even so, Su Zimo had no doubts towards Nianqi. Everyone had secrets. Furthermore, she was only a child and had a pure heart. Be it to him or Ethereal Peak, she carried no evil intentions. She fought with all her might for the battle at Ethereal Peak and almost died. It was clear that she had already regarded Ethereal Peak as her home. Little Crane replied. An old patriarch of the Great Zhou dynasty appeared and took the initiative to look Mother up with the intention of opening a teleportation spot together. The patriarch was a Dharma characteristic, but his blood chi has deteriorated and his lifespan is about to end. That was why he decided to use a secret skill to burn up the last of his lifespan and release a burst together with Mother to open up a teleportation spot. However, the teleportation tunnel was extremely cramped and only 2 people can be teleported. The Patriarch of Great Zhou gave both spots to Ethereal Peak. When he heard that, Su Zimo raised his brow. That action was equivalent to sacrificing his life to give a great gift to Ethereal Peak. The Patriarch of Great Zhou must have a motive for doing that. Little Crane continued. The Patriarch of Great Zhou knew that his life was about to end and was worried that a calamity would befall the Great Zhou dynasty after his demise. As such, he wanted to use this gift in exchange for the protection of Mother and Ethereal Peak. In the battle at Ethereal Peak, the other 4 major sects suffered immense losses and their void reversions perished. Although Ethereal Peak suffered immense losses as well, its surviving disciples had great potential for the future. Furthermore, the old immortal crane managed to extend her life with that battle and advance to the Dharma characteristic realm. She broke free of the restraints of heaven and earth and freed herself from the threat of her demise with an extension of her lifespan. With that, Ethereal Peak became the leader of the 5 major sects instantly. Its strength surpassed the other 4 major sects firmly, and there were more and more cultivators that wanted to join the sect. In the past 20 years, Ethereal Peak turned into the true number 1 sect of Great Zhou. It was not hard to understand why the Patriarch of Great Zhou made that decision. Little Crane looked at Su Zimo and continued. Mother told me that part of the reason why the Emperor of Great Zhou left the throne to Ji Yaoxue was because of your potential. At the same time, it was also because of her relationship with you as well as the fact that Ethereal Peak was backing you. Su Zimo nodded. This was something he had guessed as well. According to customs, the throne was passed down to the sons in order of seniority, no matter what, Ji Yaoxue would not have inherited it. Furthermore, she was a female. Finally, despite the unrest and internal and external strife in Great Zhou for the past 20 years after the throne was passed down to Ji Yaoxue, she was not removed from position. That was definitely not a decision made by the Emperor of Great Zhou alone. So, the Patriarch of Great Zhou also backed the idea. With that, everything made sense. This Patriarch of Great Zhou had planned a long time ahead. Furthermore, he made the right gamble. The fact that the old immortal Crane sent Little Crane here meant that they had agreed on the deal. Although he was dead, he paved the way for Great Zhou before his demise with the protection of an expert at Dharma characteristic realm. From there on, it was no longer up to his control how Great Zhou would grow in the future. A thought struck Su Zimo as he asked, "Old immortal Crane sent you and Nian in here with those 2 spots?" "Yes." Little Crane nodded. "Many cultivators joined Ethereal Peak and the strength of the sect has grown. However, there are issues as well. We no longer have enough elixirs, weapons or cultivation techniques to supply them." Both Mother and the sect master looked highly forward to the opening of the ancient battlefield, hoping to use this opportunity to strengthen our sect's foundation. Although Nian joined the sect pretty late, she is already the number 1 of the Golden Core realm in our sect right now. In fact, the sect master said that she might be comparable to you. Mother also mentioned that Nian Golden Core phenomenon has a chance of making it to the top 10 of the phenomenon ranking. Su Zimo's eyes lit up. He was surprised enough at the fact that she might be able to make it to the top 10 of the phenomenon ranking. Sect Master Ling Yun was already at Void Reversion Realm, and both he and the old immortal Crane were wise and sharp. The fact that they gave Nian such a high evaluation was proof of her strength. Of course, neither the old immortal Crane nor Sect Master Ling Yun knew of Su Zimo's true strength after he lay dormant for 20 years at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley. Nobody had witnessed it as well. As though she recalled something, Little Crane's eyes were filled with fear. "Not long after we entered the ancient battlefield, we came across a group of 7. There were 6 men and 1 woman. The 7 of them were extremely strong. Extremely strong." Little Crane emphasized continuously. It was clear how much of a blow it was for her. The group of them looked down on everything with a cold, arrogant indifference. However, something was off the moment they caught sight of Nian. Nian expression turned terrible as well the moment we saw them. At that time, we were holding hands and her palm went ice cold right away, filled with sweat. Su Zimo and the others could not help but feel anxious at this point. Little Crane continued. "Thereafter, the 7 of them had odd expressions and walked towards us, looking at Nian with fake smiles. Nian told me not to ask about anything and just run before rushing to them." After pausing for a moment, Little Crane gulped. The moment Nian rushed up, she released her Golden Core phenomenon. However, it was shattered by a single punch from the leader of the opposing group. "Ah!" Little Fox exclaimed. Narrowing his gaze, Su Zimo asked. "He destroyed Nian Golden Core phenomenon with a single punch?" "Yes." Little Fox nodded with conviction. Su Zimo's expression turned grim. According to the old immortal Crane, Nian Golden Core phenomenon had a chance of making it to the top 10 of the phenomenon ranking. In other words, her Golden Core phenomenon was definitely not weaker than his Soaring Serpent and Divine Turtle. However, such a terrifying Golden Core phenomenon was shattered by a single punch. Su Zimo was secretly shocked. Even he might not be capable of releasing such a powerful burst. Suddenly, Su Zimo realized that the ancient battlefield this time round might be much scarier than he had imagined it to be. Chapter 674 Sworn Siblings. Chapter 674 Sworn Siblings. Nian did not manage to last 3 moves against that person. At that time, I was scared out of my wits and my mind was filled with nothing but Nian voice asking me to escape. Little Crane's eyes were filled with guilt and self-blame as she said with a slumped head, "I know that I'm very weak for not choosing to fight alongside Nian. However, I truly could not muster any courage in the face of those people. The only thought on my mind as I escaped frantically was to look for you and inform you about this. However, I did not escape far before I landed in the hands of the rainbow wolf spiders. The spirit tiger consoled hurriedly. It's not your fault. You can't defeat them either. I would have escaped too if I was in your shoes. Suzimo patted Little Crane on the back of her palm. You did the right thing. If you fought those people recklessly, you would have only lost your life for nothing. Furthermore, it's lucky that you escaped. Otherwise, I would not have found out what happened to you guys either. Little Crane's expression was slightly relieved. After a moment of silence, Suzimo asked, Did they hurt Nian? No. Little Crane shook her head. Their leader merely wanted to capture Nian alive. He mentioned something about returning to the elders for punishment, but I didn't hear anything more. At that point, Little Crane sighed again. The reason why I escaped wasn't because they couldn't catch up to me. It was because they could not be bothered with me at all. I'll never forget the way they looked at me. It was as though I was an ant. Who would care about letting an ant go? Suzimo pondered for a moment before suddenly asking, What did they look like? Little Crane replied. The 7 of them wore extremely ancient costumes. All of them had golden hair, blue eyes, straight, high noses, and were extremely good-looking. It's easy to recognize them. The mention of that had Suzimo's heart skipping a beat. Nianqi's appearance did resemble them somewhat. In the battle at Ethereal Peak, Nianqi once released her potential in a moment of desperation and her strength exploded. Her initially withered yellow hair turned straight and danced with a golden shade as well. Her eyes were blue and her aura was peerless, resembling a dignified divine being. Nianqi's background definitely had something to do with these guys. However, Suzimo could not identify where they were from exactly. He had a vague guess in his heart. Judging from their behavior, I don't think Nianqi's life is in danger for the time being. Suzimo looked at the worried Little Crane and said gently, Don't worry, leave this to me. Yes. Little Crane nodded. If there was anybody in the ancient battlefield who could save Nianqi, it would have to be Suzimo. Let's leave this place first and look elsewhere to rest. Monkey, the spirit tiger, and golden lion were injured. Although they consumed quite a bit of elixirs, it would take them a few days to recover completely. For the next few days, Suzimo and the others did not rush to travel and rested in a cave. They were already in the ancient battlefield for more than a month. The rich spirit chi coupled with the massive battle and fights they encountered triggered Suzimo's golden core realm. He finally sensed the opportunity for a breakthrough. In his dantian, a golden dazzling core revolved slowly above the Soraka flower. The golden core's aura was slightly complicated. It had the aura of immortals as well as fiends. The two auras were supposed to oppose one another. However, there was an aura of the Buddhist sects in the golden core that created a harmony to combine the immortal and fiend auras completely. Suzimo assumed a lotus position with his eyes closed and his black hair danced on its own. On the left, water mists rose and the phantom of a divine turtle appeared. On the right, flames blazed and the phantom of a soaring serpent descended. Gradually, as time passed, the aura within Suzimo's body intensified. It continued until fire and water fused and the turtle and serpent intertwined. The entire void quaked for a moment. A shuddering aura emanated from Suzimo's body, spreading through the whole like a ripple. Monkey and the others were alarmed and ran outside, watching from the entrance of the cave. Everywhere the ripple extended, rocks and sand disintegrated into emptiness. It was as though the entire cave was sliced by a sharp knife. Bang! Boom! Boom! The mountain itself trembled. The mountains were tumbling and the ground was disintegrating. Boom! There seemed to be a loud explosion within Suzimo's body. 2 divine lights appeared in the cave. Suzimo opened his eyes and jolted upright, roaring into the skies. His roar was resounding and penetrated metal and rock. Right in front of Monkey and the others, an air current exited from Suzimo's mouth like a flying sword, bursting the ceiling above. His breath was like a sword. That level was beyond the limits of a golden core. Success. At this point, Suzimo was at perfected golden core. A step further and he would advance into nascent soul realm, cultivating the legendary essence spirit, and gaining control of dermic powers. His cultivation speed was not considered as the best. However, given the fact that he could reach this stage with his immortality and demonic cultivation, it was quite a rare feat. Suzimo's golden core faded gradually. He reigned in his aura and tranquility returned to the cave. Monkey and the others had also attained breakthroughs in their cultivation realms in the past few days, and were almost all at perfected inner core realm. The flesh they consumed by being with Suzimo was filled with the richest life force essences. Coupled with the countless elixirs, it was only logical that they would reach this stage of cultivation. Little Crane was still slightly dejected for the past few days. It wasn't merely out of concern for Nian. More than that, it was also the news of her kin's demise. Suzimo could empathize with her emotions. The spirit tiger accompanied Little Crane day and night, trying his best to come up with ways to cheer her up but to no avail. This day, the spirit tiger seemed to have thought of something and rushed in front of everyone excitedly, yelling, Hey! I've got a suggestion." After a brief pause, the spirit tiger took a deep breath and said solemnly, "Let's become sworn siblings." Sworn siblings? Monkey's eyes lit up. The group of them had an extremely deep relationship to begin with. Although the Golden Lion and Little Fox joined later on, they had already integrated themselves into the group with their recent interactions. Furthermore, be it Little Fox or the Golden Lion, both of them had gained everyone's acknowledgement after the battle at the ancient city. The Golden Lion was naturally delighted. Little Fox was not going to decline. She had even more reason to follow along Suzimo after being sworn siblings. When she heard that, Little Crane perked up and there was a little more life in the way she looked at Monkey, the spirit tiger, and everyone else. Suzimo nodded silently. Although the spirit tiger seemed crude and brutish, this was a decent suggestion. The reason why Little Crane was upset was because she had lost a kin. But after they become sworn siblings, she would gain a few more kin. After pondering for a moment, Monkey looked at Suzimo and said with slight hesitance, "Don't join in. You're a human after all. If you become sworn siblings with us, you'll definitely get into trouble in the future." "Ha ha!" Suzimo roared into laughter. "Monkey, do I look like someone so cowardly? It's true that I'm a human, but I insist on being sworn siblings with you guys. No matter the amount of trouble, I'll take it all on." "All right, let's do it then." Monkey was invigorated as well. "Sure!" the spirit tiger cheered. At that moment, no one realized that this seemingly casual ceremony of being sworn siblings in a corner of the ancient battlefield would end up dictating the state of Tianhuang mainland's future to a certain degree. Chapter 675 Seven Brothers. Chapter 675 Seven Brothers. As Monkey mentioned, Suzimo would not be able to explain things for the rest of his life if he became sworn brothers with them. However, Suzimo did not care. The reason why he cultivated was so that he could do as he wished. How could he be restricted by the confines of moral guidelines or the different ideals of immortals and fiends? If he wanted to establish a Tao, he must possess the boldness to break free of all restraints and rules. The spirit tiger said, "We should add someone else, although he's not here with us right now." Little Crane asked. "Little Night Spirit, right?" The spirit tiger nodded hurriedly and wagged its tail, praising. "You sure are smart, Little Crane." Little Crane blushed slightly and extended her leg, kicking the spirit tiger. "After forming my inner core, my mother gave me a name. I'm now called Qing. Little Crane possessed the bloodline of the Bai Fangs and looked different from other immortal cranes with a tinge of jade green in her feathers. The name was fitting. Little Fox called out obediently, "Sister Qing." "Yes." Qing nodded and hugged Little Fox. Although this was the first time they met one another, they were already close as sisters after these few days of interaction. "Who is this little night spirit?" Little Fox asked curiously. A reminiscent look flashed through Suzimo's eyes as he replied sadly, It was a little beast that I picked up in some Lang mountain range more than 20 years ago. It should have grown up by now. At the mention of Night Spirit, Monkey, the Spirit Tiger and Little Crane let out looks of concern. After all, the few of them witnessed Night Spirit's birth and growth in Ethereal Peak back then. Night Spirit was picky with food and would not touch the flesh of ordinary demon beasts. In order to feed Night Spirit, Monkey, the Spirit Tiger and Little Crane fought through the jungle and sustained injuries all over to obtain different flesh so that Night Spirit could taste them all. Although that period of time was tough and dangerous, they were ecstatic as they looked at Night Spirit grow bit by bit. It felt like everything was worth it. Night Spirit was well behaved the moment he was born and knew who was good to him. His fangs and claws were extremely sharp, but he had never bared them to Monkey, the Spirit Tiger and Little Crane. It's been a long time since I've seen that cub. I wonder how he's like now that he's grown up. Does he still remember us? Monkey was in a rare emotional state. Ever since what happened in Dongling Valley and Su Zimo and Night Spirit fled far away into the capital of Great Zhou, Monkey and the others had not seen Night Spirit. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 years had passed. Su Zimo gazed into the distance and murmured, 20 years ago, Night Spirit accompanied Xiaoning to Elixir Yang's sect in the Middle Continent. I wonder if we'll get to meet them again this time round in the intermediate ancient battlefield. There should be no issues including Night Spirit with us, right? The Spirit Tiger asked. Monkey and Qing nodded. There was naturally no way Little Fox would object to it. She was satisfied as long as Su Zimo was inside. The Golden Lion was a little confused and did not know what Night Spirit was. However, he shrugged to express that he was fine with it since everyone agreed to it. The Spirit Tiger shifted his gaze and coughed gently. Since we're swearing to be siblings, we should talk about seniority. If we make that clear, we can't change that in the future, right? Monkey scoffed coldly as he saw through the Spirit Tiger's intentions right away. Why, you want to be the boss? No! The Spirit Tiger shuddered in shock and waved it off immediately with a sheepish smile. No way! Even if I thought that way, I wouldn't have the balls. Heh! There were a total of 7 of them along with Night Spirit, and there were demons and humans. Everything would definitely be a mess if they judged purely based on age. What do you have in mind? Hurry and spit it out! Qing extended her legs and kicked the Spirit Tiger again. The Spirit Tiger was not frustrated. Instead, it said joyfully with a slight excitement, Su Zimo is the reason why we're all here today. He's the only one suitable to be the big brother. Furthermore, it's undeniable that he's the strongest. Everyone nodded. Monkey had no objections either. He had a prideful nature, and he wouldn't object to Su Zimo being the only one that was ranked before him. Su Zimo smiled calmly without interrupting and merely listened to how the Spirit Tiger wanted things to be arranged. Invigorated, the Spirit Tiger wagged its tail and smiled in a pandering manner to Monkey. Only Brother Monkey has the right to be second. Firstly, Brother Monkey knew our big brother the earliest, and is the most experienced. Secondly, apart from Big Brother, Brother Monkey is the strongest in combat. Monkey was satisfied with the explanation and grinned. Qing, Little Fox and the Golden Lion naturally had no objections. Actually, the Spirit Tiger wanted to be the second place as well. However, he was most likely going to be tormented back and forth by Monkey if he took over that position. As such, he decided against it. The Spirit Tiger took a deep breath and cleared his throat, saying deeply with a solemn expression, I guess Hubatian will have to be the third. I knew Big Brother a long time ago, and I'm strong as well. The Spirit Tiger patted his chest and declared with gusto. This was his true intention. With this position settled, he could openly bully everyone at the back in the future. Of course, he could not bully Qing. Little Fox was protected by Su Zimo, so he could not touch her as well. There was Night Spirit, but he had better forget about that. With that, there was only Golden Hair left. In the past few days, given the violent objection of the Golden Lion, he finally fought for a slightly better name for himself, from Yellow Hair to Golden Hair. At least with the Golden Word, he would not be disgracing the bloodline of the Golden Lions. The spirit tiger glared at the golden lion and snickered evilly. With that arrangement, Qing would logically be number 4. There was not much to discuss about the first 4 spots. However, the golden lion was pretty done by the time it came to number 5. According to the spirit tiger's arrangement, Night Spirit would be number 5. After all, Night Spirit was the first to know Su Zimo after Monkey, the spirit tiger, and Qing. However, the golden lion did not know who Night Spirit was at all. He was definitely indignant being ranked behind a little beast that he had never seen before. Yet, immediately after, he was suppressed mercilessly by Monkey, the spirit tiger, and Qing. His objections were to no avail. Little Fox was number 6. The golden lion hid in a corner with misty eyes, a few slaps on his face and a few footprints on his body. He had a gloomy look on his face and no longer spoke. The spirit tiger laughed when he looked at the golden lion. Golden Hair, are you happy to be number 7? The golden lion seethed at the smug look on the spirit tiger's face. Monkey teased, It's okay, Golden Hair. If we have anyone else joining us in the future, they will be placed behind you. Brother Golden Hair, although I'm in front of you, I'm not going to bully you. Little Fox said with an earnest expression. The golden lion wanted to cry. To be fair, he truly could not afford to mess with the people before him. Although Little Fox was the weakest, she was protected by Su Zimo. There was only a single person he was indignant about the more he thought about it. I don't know who this night spirit is, but you better stay away from me. Otherwise, I'm going to teach you a good lesson so that you hand over the number 5 position, little thing. How dare a nameless little beast climb over my head? Humph. The golden lion rubbed his palms and grumbled internally. Chapter 676 Ancestor Cave Abode. Chapter 676 Ancestor Cave Abode. Among the 7 of them, apart from Su Zimo, the rest of them were demons with easygoing attitudes. There was no need for any messy formal ceremonies. After the suggestion, everyone used the ground as a replacement for incense, and kowtowed towards the skies. That action alone sealed the oath of their swear. Thereafter, everyone became closer, and Qing's mood improved as well. The spirit tiger followed behind Qing every day, pandering with his but twerking. There was naturally much joy in their journey with the presence of the spirit tiger. This day, they arrived at a vast plains. Su Zimo's expression changed as he paused in his tracks and listened. Among the 7 of them, his 5 senses were the strongest, a whole different level above the other 6. He was always the first to notice if something was wrong. First, what's wrong? The golden lion asked. Su Zimo said deeply. There's quite a bit of commotion in the east, so there should be quite a lot of people there. It's not just cultivators, there's also the faint roars of demon beasts. Suddenly, the ground quaked gently. Dong! 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 A series of movements sounded faintly from the east, as though someone was beating the heavenly drums. The next moment, a bedazzling light surged into the air and illuminated the world. A treasure was born. The reason why the major sects and factions of Tianhuang mainland were willing to give it their all to send cultivators to the ancient battlefield was because there were many cave abodes here that were left behind by ancestors. There were also a few inheritance grounds, many ancient secret grounds and countless tombs with endless mysterious treasures in them. If anyone could obtain some of the secret skills or mystic weapons, they had a chance of turning extremely powerful overnight. Even if they did not need it themselves, they could present it to their sects in exchange for fabulous rewards. Some factions and sects could even rise because of a single opportunity, establishing their foundation and transforming into a powerful major faction from a nameless small sect. In fact, there was even a chance that they could instantly be ranked among one of the 108 upper sects. Su Zimo narrowed his gaze and whispered, "Let's go and check things out." With that, he sped over in a flash. Monkey and the others followed closely behind. Not long after, Su Zimo gradually slowed down and gazed into the distance. Not far ahead, there was a towering mountain peak that extended into the clouds. Around the mountain peak were many cultivators. There were also countless roars of demon beasts above and below the mountain peak. A massive conflict had broken out between cultivators and demons. Spirit energy surged in midair, releasing beams of light with scorching heatwaves. Countless ancient trees were cut with sand flying everywhere. Nobody knew how long the battle had been ongoing, but the sight was tragic, with the mountain peak drenched in blood. Su Zimo could clearly see that there was something strange about the mountain peak. It was split from the middle, as though a pair of invisible hands had ripped it apart. However, in the middle of the mountain peak, instead of mountains and rocks, there was a gigantic palace that did not seem like it was man-made. It was like a work of God. The palace was riddled with holes, but within, there were ancient weapons laid out one after another. There were also many elixirs and a few ancient books that were filled with dust. Su Zimo whispered, "This is the birth of an ancestor cave abode, and two major factions are fighting within for the treasures. The fight is too chaotic, there's no way to see what's within." Monkey frowned. "If we barge in right now, we'll definitely be targeted." Little Fox shifted her gaze and glanced around. "There must be quite a number of cultivators and ferocious beasts waiting by the sidelines for an opportunity to strike. Let's wait a while more to see if there's any treasures worth us making a move for. We shouldn't get involved in this mess." Su Zimo had a calm expression. The simple did not seem simple given how secretive it was located in the middle of a mountain peak. However, Su Zimo was not in a rush. It won't be too late even if he struck when a great treasure truly appeared. Boom! A human paragon released a golden core phenomenon and clashed against a few ferocious beasts. The resultant force spread outwards and even the entire palace trembled. Many weapons were caught up in the energy fluctuation and scattered in midair. The eyes of the human paragon shone as he grabbed one of the swords and injected spirit energy into it. The sword shone brightly with 5 spirit patterns. A perfect spirit weapon! Slash! The human paragon shouted and waved the sword. A bedazzling sword light streaked through the air with rainbow colors, slicing the ferocious beasts on the other end into 2, creating a blood mist. "Haha, good sword!" The human paragon was delighted. His strength had increased significantly after gaining the sword, and it meant that he would stand a greater chance at obtaining a spot on the phenomenon ranking. Many other cultivators moved as well to snatch the weapons that were scattered in midair. Su Zimo could see clearly that among the weapons, the weakest were at supreme grade, and there were more than 10 perfect grade ones. A single palace contained so many treasures. For most cultivators, gaining a supreme grade meant an increase in strength. Gaining a perfect spirit weapon meant their strength would increase tenfold. Be it supreme grade or perfect spirit weapons, none of them attracted Su Zimo any longer. The greatest goal of his trip this time round was to see if he could get any high-level dermic weapons. It was not only for himself, but also Monkey and the others. Although Monkey and the others were demons, after they broke through their inner cores and formed their essence spirits, they would be able to refine dermic weapons for themselves as well. It was best if they could get their hands on a suitable dermic weapon before breaking through to the nascent soul realm. Boom! It was yet another deafening sound. Another wall in the palace toppled and many weapons that were hung on it bounced. Those weapons were clearly different from spirit weapons. Even in the void where spirit energy was fluctuating in a berserk manner, they had no reaction at all, and their patterns were even more intricate and seemingly divine. Dermic weapons! There were dermic weapons in the palace. Look, that flying sword has 2 dermic patterns. It's a middle-grade dermic weapon. For golden cores and the many spirit demons, a single dermic weapon was enough to fuel their greed. It meant that they would get to possess a middle-grade dermic weapon the moment they advanced to nascent soul realm. 3 dermic patterns. It's a superior grade dermic weapon. Attack! A series of exclamations came from the crowd. A scarlet spear hovered in midair with 3 dermic patterns on it. Boom! A gigantic demon beast soared into the air. It resembled a tiger, but it had a pair of wings behind its back, emitting an endless ferocity with a menacing gaze. One of the 4 great ancient ferocious beasts, Cheong-Chi. The golden lion said slowly with a grim expression. Even among pure-blooded ferocious beasts, they had varying strength levels. For example, the legendary 4 great ancient ferocious beasts were much stronger than other ferocious beasts. The moment the Qiongqi appeared, it opened its mouth and devoured a cultivator who was supporting a golden core phenomenon. Within a few chomps, the latter was crushed and swallowed as blood oozed from the side of the Qiongqi's mouth. It was way too violent, even a golden core phenomenon could not withstand it. Raging city blaze! A roar sounded from the ground. A human paragon wearing blazing scarlet robes charged into the battlefield with a gigantic ancient city behind him. The ancient city blazed with flames that surged into the air and incinerated all living beings. The moment the ancient city descended, it crushed another pure-blooded ferocious beast into sludge before burning it into ashes. That was one of the 10 upper sects of the North region, a paragon of Blaze Columbus Valley. A superior grade dermic weapon had shown itself. More paragons and ferocious beasts were entering the battlefield. Chapter 677 Corpse Refinement Cult. Chapter 677 Corpse Refinement Cult. Should we go and fight for it? The spirit tiger was raring to go with excitement in his eyes. There's no need to. Su Zimo had a calm expression and a glint sparkled in his eyes. Although superior grade dermic weapons seem good, it's not worth us taking the risk to enter this mess. In the ancient battlefield, even for dermic weapons that once belonged to Dao lords or mighty figures, their dermic powers had long dissipated without the refinement of essence spirit and the passing of countless years. These weapons had fallen to the grade of perfected lord dermic weapons a long time ago. The only difference was that their dermic patterns were still around and their grades were unchanged. Therefore, even if any dermic weapons appeared, they were mostly for perfected lords. Go, let's leave this place first. Su Zimo waved and prepared to leave with Monkey and the others. You want to leave after coming here? A gigantic ferocious bird spread its wings and covered the skies with a torrential demonic aura. Its gaze was sharp as it glared down, diving towards Little Fox with its outstretched talons. Foxes were natural-born seductresses. Unless they had a strong backing, countless demon beasts would fight for them the moment they appeared. Qing Qing raised her brows with a hint of displeasure. Without even transforming, she leaped into the air and crossed her legs, kicking a series of shadows into the air. Her thighs were like guillotines, letting out the sound of air slicing. Qing Qing was already rather beautiful in her human form. Coupled with her slender and tall figure, she was like a graceful dragon dancing in the air. Pitter-patter! Pitter-patter! On the ground, the spirit tiger watched with a gaping mouth, drooling constantly. His gaze was dazed and he remarked squarely, "Her legs seem like they can spread apart right beneath her belly button." Piak! Monkey sent the spirit tiger with a single slap. Bang! 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 Qing Qing avoided the talons of the ferocious bird and pummeled it furiously on the head, causing it to explode. Croak! Croak! A golden toad the size of a mountain squatted at the side with widened eyes, puffing its cheeks and letting out a strange sound that grew louder and louder. It was as though thunder had just rumbled. All of a sudden, the golden toad opened its mouth. A blood beam flashed and wrapped around Little Fox. It was the tongue of the golden toad race. It was so fast that it could not be seen clearly. This was the strongest killing move of the golden toad that it used mainly to capture other demon beasts for food. Most demon beasts were devoured by the golden toad before they could react. Although Little Fox was unable to defend against this, there was no trace of fear or panic in her eyes. Any single one of the few figures around her was enough to kill the golden toad. Piak! Just as the blood tongue was about to make contact with Little Fox's body, a hairy palm appeared and grabbed the golden toad's tongue. Monkey's eyes flashed with a scarlet glow as he glared at the golden toad not far away and grinned. Shing! Exerting strength in both arms, Monkey ripped the blood tongue off with blood spraying everywhere. Boom! Immediately after, Monkey's legs landed on the ground and his body expanded. He arrived before the golden toad in a stride and swung his massive fist down towards the latter. The golden toad retracted its severed tongue, and its mouth was filled with fresh blood as hatred surged through its eyes. Suddenly, blood bubbles the size of fists appeared on its body, enlarging by the second. Snap! Su Zimo pointed gently and a divine thunderbolt struck down onto the golden toad's head. The golden toad shuddered and all the blood bubbles that appeared burst immediately with fuming smoke. The poison in its blood was cleansed by the power of thunder instantly. Bang! Monkey's fist crushed heavily on the golden toad's head, killing that ferocious beast instantly. More demon beasts charged towards them. Su Zimo raised his brows slightly. Follow me. We'll leave this place first. Before his words were finished, Su Zimo retrieved Blood Quencher from his storage bag and his blood chi surged. Slashing his way through, he created a bloody path in the pack of beasts. When they arrived at the outer perimeter, Su Zimo's group turned back. More and more demon beasts and cultivators were arriving in the vicinity of the mountain peak, and all of them were bloodthirsty in the fight for the treasures. This was the ancient battlefield. It was a place where opportunities and dangers coexisted. Let's look elsewhere. There seems to be something else that's odd around this area. Su Zimo circulated his universal hearing and after a moment, pointed in a direction before speeding over with everyone. Not long after, the group of them stopped. There was a swamp ahead of them where another palace stood with many elixirs and weapons hovering in midair. Many cultivators from various factions and sects were fighting to the death with demon beasts in midair for the weapons and elixirs. The swamp was dyed red with blood. Many corpses fell from midair into the swamp, sinking slowly before vanishing. Su Zimo focused his gaze. There were many weapons in midair, and some of them were dermic weapons. However, the best among them only had 3 dermic patterns. They were superior-grade dermic weapons. For most cultivators, it was worth fighting for superior-grade dermic weapons. However, after a moment of hesitation, Su Zimo decided against it. Let's go! There was naturally no way Monkey and the others would object. The group of them continued. Not long after, they caught sight of another cave abode appearing and another group of sects and factions fighting for the treasures left behind. After watching by the sidelines for a moment, Su Zimo shook his head and left with Monkey and the others. For the next day, the group of them traveled in twists and turns. In that area, more than 10 cave abodes appeared with various factions and sects fighting for them. Among them, they even caught sight of disciples from super sects. Weird. Su Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. He did not know what happened, but it seemed like many cave abodes that were hidden in that area had appeared all of a sudden. The group of them continued, and once again, the sound of a fight accompanied by the roars of demon beasts and screeches of ferocious birds could be heard ahead. It was extremely noisy. Yet another cave abode. The golden lion's gaze shimmered and he murmured, "The rod that those guys are fighting for seems to be a supreme-grade dermic weapon with 4 dermic patterns." In midair, 2 groups of cultivators were fighting for it. One party only had 2 cultivators. The other side had dozens of cultivators, all of whom had frightfully pale faces with an extremely keen aura around them. Their lips were purplish-green and they resembled malevolent ghosts from hell. The cultivators stood motionlessly on the ground, wielding long rods in their hands as they controlled dozens of ghastly corpses on the other side. Every single corpse emitted a thick, rotting smell and shone with a metallic luster all over their bodies. They were invulnerable, as though they were refined with something unknown. Their fingernails were long and looked like sharp daggers that shimmered with a faint green glow. All of them were laced with poison. It was one of the 5 heretical doctrines, corpse refinement cult. The corpses were battle corpses specially refined by corpse refinement cult. Invulnerable against weapons with immense strength and toxic poison in their bodies, they were extremely frightening and troublesome to deal with. The dozens of corpses surrounded the 2 people in their midst and attacked wildly. Chapter 678 Underworld Emperor Phenomenon. Chapter 678 Underworld Emperor Phenomenon. Of the 2 of them, one of them was rotund and short, like an airbag. The other one had a buzz cut and looked square and honest, like a country bumpkin. The honest cultivator wielded a thin, iron rod in his left hand that was etched with complex and intricate patterns. Thin threads that were almost invisible extended from the fingertips of his right hand. He was gathering chi like threads. That was the secret skill of one of the 5 heretical doctrines, puppet sect. By condensing the spirit chi in their dantians into threads to wrap around the puppets they refined, they could control their puppets from a distance to fight against their enemies. The honest cultivator was controlling 5 different puppets. One of them was extremely heavy and shone with a metallic luster. Every single step it took created a deep footprint in the ground. Every single move it made was heavy and firm. Another puppet's body that was made with an unknown material was almost transparent. It was fluid like water and seemed weak. When the puppet's body was penetrated by a battle corpse, its muscles twitched and covered the wound swiftly. Another puppet was scarlet and blazed with flames all over. Every single move it made carried a scorching heatwave that turned the surroundings dry. The honest cultivator was dividing his attention to cultivate 5 corpses of the 5 elements, creating a formation that increased his combat strength. Amazing! The Golden Lion praised. Although their group consisted mostly of demons, they had fought with many cultivators and naturally knew how to judge the combat strength of cultivators. However, although the honest cultivator was strong and could control 5 puppets, he could not defend against the wild attacks of dozens of battle corpses. It was thanks to the golden core phenomenon released by the fatty that the 2 of them were able to survive till now. It was a pale yellow river current that was huge with countless ripples. It emitted an endless Ian aura that seemed like it could wash away all the sins in the world. Many corpses floated in the yellow river. Ooh! It was as though countless ghosts were screaming. Menacing faces appeared one after another in the river. The golden core phenomenon surrounded and protected the 2 of them in the middle, creating waves to defend against the charging battle corpses. The battle corpses seemed wary towards the yellow river. Each time water from the yellow river splashed onto the battle corpses, green smoke would fume along with a sizzling sound. As though they were sentient, the battle corpses would yelp and retreat, hopping on the spot. Their horrifying greenish-black eyes bulged slightly, bloodshot and filled with fright. What is this? Little Fox shuddered. The sight of the yellow river gave her chills. If Su Zimo and the others were not standing in front of her, she would have escaped in fright a long time ago. That's one of the ancient phenomenons, yellow springs, Su Zimo said slowly. In the era where ancient emperors rose one after another, the Underworld Emperor mustered his courage with great conviction to purge his own soul and take a walk around death's gates. He witnessed the yellow springs personally and was inspired to create that golden core phenomenon. It's said that there's a dragon vein hidden in the depths of the yellow springs and it's extremely powerful. With that, the Underworld Emperor created a peerless mystic classic, the Astounding Dragon Sutra, and it's the #1 mystic classic for locating acupoints. Eh? Ching Ching raised her brows slightly with a contemplative expression before murmuring. That fatty looks familiar. Although there was a putrid haze that affected one's vision all over the place, Ching Ching noticed something amiss after looking for a moment. It's little fatty from Ethereal Peak! Ching Ching exclaimed. After more than 20 years, little fatty had matured significantly, and his features had changed slightly as well. However, his countenance remained the same. That's right, it's him. Su Zimo nodded. The other cultivator is also an old friend. He was originally a cultivator of Southern Mountain Sect, Shijian. Do you guys recognize him? The legacy left behind by the Underworld Emperor in Tianhuang mainland was one of 5 current heretical doctrines, Tomb Sect. In the elementary ancient battlefield, little fatty was taken away by Tomb Sect. Shijian, on the other hand, joined another of the 5 heretical doctrines, Puppet Sect. Fatty, I'm sorry for burdening you. Shijian's face was pale and he was sweating on the forehead. It was evident that his spirit energy was exhausted, and he could not carry on. While he gained powerful combat strength controlling 5 puppets, the toll on one's spirit energy was also increased by multitudes. What are you saying that for? Hold on and don't get distracted. We'll definitely be able to get out. Little Fatty's chubby palm trembled as he controlled the water of yellow springs, creating waves that defended the rush of the battle corpses. Although he said that, Little Fatty's Yellow Springs phenomenon was also showing signs of exhaustion with diminished power. It had become unstable against the continuous rush of the battle corpses. As he defended against the battle corpses outside, Little Fatty said, "Do you know why I looked to you for help this time round?" "Why?" Shurjian asked. "Because you're stupid." Even at this moment, Little Fatty was optimistic and said cheerily, "As the saying goes, the dumb are favored by fortune. Since you're so stupid, you definitely have a good, long life. The reason why I looked to you for help was because I wanted a little bit of that fortune. You're still in the mood for idle chat?" A corpse refinement cult cultivator slapped his storage bag with a cold expression, waving his hand to splash a pale yellow powder on the battle corpses. Little Fatty took a sniff and exclaimed in shock, "Corpse Berserk powder!" Before his words were finished, the battle corpses that were covered by the pale yellow powder roared in a deep, resounding manner. The battle corpse grew and the clothes they were wearing exploded, revealing thick green veins on their body, neck and face. They slithered around the skin like small snakes and looked menacing. As they roared, the battle corpses emitted a foul stench from their mouth, and 2 pairs of sharp fangs grew from their upper and lower jaws. They were stained with blood and looked extremely unsettling. Bang! 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 The strength of the battle corpses grew significantly, and they no longer feared the power of Yellow Springs, as though they had gone berserk. They charged towards Little Fatty's golden core phenomenon continuously, causing it to quake violently. Instantly, the Yellow Springs phenomenon quivered. Even the Yellow Springs itself seemed to have calmed down. Lone souls, hungry ghosts, and the corpses of fiend celestials were contained in Yellow Springs. But now, Yellow Springs seemed to have been suppressed by the dozens of battle corpses that were standing in it as they roared into the air with a torrential ferocity. A wrathful look flashed through Little Fatty's eyes. If the Underworld Emperor knew that the Yellow Springs phenomenon had fallen to this point with its corpses within suppressed, he would definitely explode in rage. Right then, a voice sounded. Although it was neither loud nor soft, it overwhelmed the roars of the battle corpses and spread to every single corner of the battlefield. "How dare a bunch of evildoers behave so audaciously in the ancient battlefield where countless emperors have perished?" Little Fatty shuddered when he heard that voice, and his bead-like eyes widened with disbelief. Shurjian panted, but a curious expression appeared on his face as well. That voice sounded familiar. "It's Boss!" Little Fatty could not help but exclaim. "Boss?" Shurjian stoned for a moment before asking. "Brother Su of Ethereal Peak?" "That's right. I can't be wrong." Little Fatty supported his Yellow Springs phenomenon and leaped, looking outward frantically as he waved with an excited look on his face. "Boss, I'm here! Hurry and come save me!" Chapter 679 Suppressing Corpses. Chapter 679 Suppressing Corpses. Who is the tactless one trying to meddle in the affairs of the corpse refinement cult? The leader of the corpse refinement cult cultivators glared at Su Zimo's incoming group. His eyes were unblinking, resembling those of dead fishes, and his voice was sinister and murderous. Another person said coldly, "Beasts, you had better scram far away. Otherwise, given Corpse Refinement Cult's Supreme Mystic Classic, we can easily turn you guys into battle corpses and let you suffer a fate worse than death. Is that so?" Su Zimo raised his brows slightly. Nobody saw what he did, but in a flash, he bolted into the Corpse Refinement Cult group like an arrow. It was too fast. The distance between both parties was not far to begin with. Su Zimo's inner core and golden core were at perfected realm. When he circulated both cores together with his demonic and spirit energy alongside the power of his blood chi, even pure-blooded ferocious beasts with sharp, keen senses and powerful bodies wouldn't be able to react to that burst speed, let alone the cultivators of Corpse Refinement Cult. Poof! 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 There was no technique or spirit art. He barged in purely with his body. Right in front of everyone, The corpse refinement cult cultivators that stood in Su Zimo's way were rammed into pieces with blood spewing everywhere, like gigantic watermelons. He was a human weapon! Nobody could withstand his might as he charged his way through the crowd. 7 corpse refinement cult cultivators were sneering a moment earlier. Immediately after, they were rammed to death without even understanding how they died. A corpse refinement cult cultivator reacted to it, and defended instinctively by propping his Chaos Essence iron rod in front of him. Unexpectedly, a black shadow darted over. Snap! The iron rod in his hands was snapped into 2. The middle portion where it was snapped thrust into his chest like a spear, penetrating it completely. Another corpse refinement cult cultivator yelled, and withdrew a shimmering silver shield from his storage bag before injecting spirit energy into it furiously. Instantly, a bright beam shone. The shield expanded with the wind like a silver mountain peak that guarded the man behind it. It shone with 5 spirit lights and was bedazzling. It was a perfect-grade defensive spirit weapon. In the cultivation world of the Great Zhou dynasty, a perfect spirit weapon would cause quite a huge stir. However, Su Zimo's expression did not change. In fact, there were no emotions in his eyes. He had seen too many of such weapons. Right now, he had dozens of perfect spirit weapons in his storage bag alone. Su Zimo's speed did not slow down as his body rose gently. With a cold gaze, he strode forward and stomped down furiously on that gigantic silver shield. Plow heaven's stride! A torrential force surged forward from Su Zimo's body. Even if he was facing the heavens, he could plow a massive ravine beneath his feet, let alone a single mountain. Boom! The glowing silver shield was stomped beneath Su Zimo's feet. The corpse refinement cult cultivator that hid behind the shield was stomped into sludge despite the shield standing between him and Su Zimo without even making a peep of sound. Su Zimo's execution of the many killing moves in the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness was getting more fluid. As his demonic cultivation deepened, the power of those killing moves became even more frightening as well. The crowd was in an uproar. Not far away, many cultivators were prepared to join the fight. However, all of them stopped instinctively with dumbstruck expressions when they witnessed this. It was way too ferocious. In the blink of an eye, 9 corpse refinement cult cultivators died in the hands of this green-robed cultivator. The scary thing was that the 9 of them were completely helpless against him. Who is he? What's his background? I don't know. The ancient battlefield is indeed a place where paragons roam and monster incarnates are everywhere. It's too scary. That's right, notwithstanding the legacy disciples of the various super sects, I heard that a monster incarnate unlike anything history has ever seen appeared in the North region. I heard of him as well. I heard that he sowed a grudge with Glass Palace and actually managed to murder all their cultivators that have arrived in the ancient battlefield. Man, that's savage! The discussions were loud and fervent. On the battlefield, the remaining corpse refinement cult cultivators were shocked and retreated hurriedly along with the battle corpses that they were controlling not far away. Corpse refinement cult cultivators were almost completely reliant on their battle corpses for strength. Without the protection of their battle corpses, they were extremely weak physically and their actual strength was not much different from ordinary cultivators. The leader of the corpse refinement cult cultivators said coldly, "You truly have a death wish." Corpse refinement cult cultivators spend their days with corpses as their companions and their bodies are filled with poison as well. You won't be able to escape death after crushing their bodies. That's right. Another corpse refinement cult cultivator sneered. Beast, have you realized that the blood chi in your body is starting to deteriorate? Hee hee. Ha ha. Su Zimo reared his head in laughter loudly. The blood chi in his body surged with the mighty sound of a tsunami. He did not seem like he was poisoned at all. His bloodline was like a cauldron blazing with flames. It could incinerate, evaporate, and cleanse everything. Even the poison of Poison Sect might not be a threat to him, let alone the poison from corpses. You. The faces of the corpse refinement cult cultivators turned pale as a sheet. A tall and mighty shadow charged in front of them, whirling two fists like hammers and barging left and right in the crowd. There was no way the corpse refinement cult cultivators could withstand the iron fists of Monkey. One after another, figures were sent flying. By the time they landed on the ground, they were corpses without any life in them. An evil gust of wind blew past. A ferocious tiger with rumbling malevolent chi lunged down from above the lion, ripping the body of a corpse refinement cult cultivator apart by the stomach as though it was extremely hungry. The moment the poison of the corpse made contact with the fur of the spirit tiger, it was cleansed into emptiness by an electric current. Roar! A golden lion with a dignified might charged into the crowd and let out a deafening roar. The few corpse refinement cult cultivators closest to it started bleeding from the eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. They were bleeding from all orifices. The brains of those cultivators were shook into sludge. Ching Ching and Little Fox did not head up. The two of them definitely wanted nothing more than to get far away from those eerie cultivators with the stench of rotting corpses. Even so, it took slightly more than 10 breaths for Su Zimo, Monkey, the spirit tiger and golden lion to decimate the dozens of corpse refinement cult cultivators entirely. Everything ended before the dozens of battle corpses that surrounded Little Fatty and Shi Jian could retreat to help. In truth, corpse refinement cult cultivation worlds were extremely troublesome to deal with in the cultivation world. Unless there was a need to, disciples of various super sects would not want to provoke them intentionally. The battle corpses they had were invulnerable to fire, water, and were extremely strong such that they could take on perfect, or even connate spirit weapons head-on. Corpse refinement cult cultivators were almost impossible to defeat with a battle corpse standing before them. However, the weakness of corpse refinement cult cultivators was evident as well. The moment they fall, their battle corpses would not be controlled and were no longer any threat. By understanding that weakness, Su Zimo and the others did not give the corpse refinement cult cultivators any breathing room and slaughtered the group of them with a thunderous might in slightly more than 10 breaths. The dozens of battle corpses fell forward stiffly, turning into true corpses. Chapter 680 Distraction. Chapter 680 Distraction. Little Fatty had just consumed a few elixirs and was panting. Before he could calm down, he saw that the corpse refinement cult cultivators were already slain completely. His eyes widened and his jaws almost dropped to the ground. The rumors are not lying, Brother Su is still ferocious as ever. Shi Jian gulped and muttered his thoughts. Bro, I'm glad you're here. I've missed you to death. Little Fatty's character had not changed as he scurried over like a gigantic meatball. He lunged into Su Zimo's embrace emotionally with tears and snot. Peeling that fat face away, Su Zimo scolded with a chuckle. Stop acting. Shi Jian came over as well and smiled at Su Zimo with cupped fists. Much thanks, Brother Su. What's with the politeness after not meeting each other for 20 years? Su Zimo laughed with a relaxed expression. Back in Xiantian City in the elementary ancient battlefield, he welcomed the 4 mounted bandits single-handedly. However, Little Fatty, Ji Qingtian, Little Fatty and Shi Jian were extremely bold and returned to fight with him. They were brothers who had gone through thick and thin. Little Fatty laughed. Silly Jian is foolish as always, you can just ignore him, boss. The 3 of them had reunited after a long time and words could not describe Little Fatty's joy. Shi Jian did not have much to say and merely chuckled foolishly the entire time. Although Su Zimo seemed composed, he was smiling a lot more than usual as well. Thank you for your help, fellow brothers of the demon race. Little Fatty chuckled and greeted Monkey and the others with cupped fists. He got along with people easily to begin with. Furthermore, he already knew Monkey and the spirit tiger from back in Ethereal Peak. Boss, I've heard from Silly Jian about everything in the North region. Little Fatty consoled. Don't worry, follow me back to my sect this time round. I'll persuade my master to take you in. Although Tomb Sect's legacy is not strong, we've lasted through history and have some foundation as well. Furthermore, Tomb Sect is the best at being secretive. There's no way outsiders know about where we're located. Almost the entire North region knew about Su Zimo's feud with Glass Palace. Ordinary cultivators would want nothing more than to get far away from Su Zimo in fear of being implicated. However, Little Fatty had no such considerations at all. Instead, he was thinking up ideas and solutions for Su Zimo. Su Zimo patted Little Fatty on the shoulder gratefully. Although it sounded like a possible idea, it was not practical. Little Fatty was a golden core. Even if he was a legacy disciple, his words would not carry much weight in the sect. Most sects would definitely not want to go against a super sect such as Glass Palace just for someone like him. The disadvantages outweighed the advantages. Furthermore, although Tomb Sect was one of the 5 heretical doctrines, it was well known that they had few disciples. There was no way they could go against Glass Palace. Brother Su, I could head back and explain things to Puppet Sect as well. Shijian mustered his courage and wanted to help Su Zimo with his troubles as well. Su Zimo waved it off with a smile and diverted the topic. It's fine, we can talk about this next time. Right, how did you guys end up fighting against Corpse Refinement cult cultivators? Shijian gripped his fists and said hatefully. Puppet Sect and Corpse Refinement cult have a deep enmity to begin with. There's naturally no way they would let me off the moment they saw me. Oh? Su Zimo raised his brow. In Tianhuang mainland, among the 9 immortal sects, 7 fiend sects, 6 Buddhist monasteries, 5 heretical doctrines and 4 unorthodox groups, there were truly deep-rooted enmity between some super sects that went a long way back. For example, Heavenly Dipper's sect of the immortal sects and Malevolent Earth's sect of the fiend sects were long enemies. There were also similar conflicts between immortal sections. Glass Palace had an extremely poor relationship with Snowdrift Valley of the Middle Continent. Shijian continued. Originally, there weren't 5 heretical doctrines. Corpse Refinement cult was established by a traitor of Puppet Sect. He was the most talented cultivator in Puppet Sect and even had the potential of becoming an emperor if he continued cultivating. However, he ended up veering onto the wrong path and focused entirely on corpses. In order to refine corpses, he became addicted to killing and sinned endlessly, cultivating himself to the point where he resembled neither human nor ghost. Eventually, he incurred the wrath of the sect. Everyone was immersed as Shijian recounted the history of Puppet Sect. When Shijian paused briefly, Little Fox could not help but ask, "What happened after?" Shijian let out a deep breath. An expert of a sect took pity on his potential and could not bear to see him cripple his cultivation just like that. That person tried to persuade him to repent countless times but was eventually killed by him instead. Sigh, he was truly powerful. He managed to escape even against the combined attack of experts from many sects. Although a patriarch of the sect eventually moved in, that person had already established himself and forged an alliance with one of the other heretical doctrines, Poison Sect. Even if we gave it our all to kill him, Puppet Sect would suffer immense losses and even face possible annihilation. Left with no other choice, we could only allow him to leave. Not long after, he created Corpse Refinement cult in Tianhuang mainland, and as it grew stronger, it became one of the 5 heretical doctrines. No wonder. At that point, realization flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. Earlier on, I noticed that the technique Corpse Refinement cult used to refine their battle corpses was similar to the technique of Puppet Sect. The only difference was that one was evil and the other righteous. So, they had the same background. Unfortunately, although our backgrounds are the same, the situation between us is now irreconcilable, Shijian said. Little Fatty shifted his beady eyes and surveyed the surroundings. When he saw that more cultivators were gathering, he whispered, "Let's leave first. This is not a good place to linger further." "Yes." Su Zimo nodded. "You guys leave first. I'll go get my hands on that iron rod." Although the fight between them and Corpse Refinement cult had subsided, more cultivators had been attracted over due to the commotion. Right now, many cultivators and demon beasts were already fighting, and it was all for that supreme-grade dermic weapon with 4 dermic patterns in midair. Su Zimo had his eyes set on that object as well. They traveled for an entire day past more than 10 cave abodes, but this was the highest graded dermic weapon. No, don't go! Little Fatty held back Su Zimo by the arm and whispered. There's no need for us to fight for that scrap metal. Let's head somewhere else. Ah? Su Zimo froze for a moment. Wasn't his tone way too arrogant? A supreme-grade dermic weapon was considered as scrap metal in the eyes of Little Fatty? Little Fatty said in a mysterious manner, Follow me, I'll take you guys elsewhere. What? Su Zimo could not help but ask. Little Fatty asked instead, How many cave abodes have you seen appear today? Su Zimo replied, More than 10. Yes. Little Fatty was not surprised. Based on my deductions, more than 10 more of such cave abodes are going to appear. So many? Su Zimo was surprised and asked with a frown, Why are so many cave abodes appearing all of a sudden? Did something happen to this place? Sort of. Little Fatty retracted his smile in a rare manner and said darkly, There's a huge tomb beneath this place where the true treasures lie. These cave abodes are nothing but a distraction left behind by the tomb master. Chapter 681 Mighty Figure of Tomb Sect. Chapter 681 Mighty Figure of Tomb Sect. Su Zimo was surprised when he heard that. How extravagant! This legendary master of the tomb was willing to painstakingly set up dozens of diversionary cave abodes so as to hide his treasures and legacy. More than that, the diversionary tombs contained quite a number of treasures that caused countless cultivators and demons to fight for it, leaving corpses in their wake. Su Zimo deduced. I'm sure the identity of the tomb master is far from simple if he has this many treasures. The tomb master is a conjoined body mighty figure, Little Fatty said with conviction. No wonder. Su Zimo nodded. A conjoined body mighty figure was probably the only one who had the capability to disregard spirit and dermic weapons, planting them in diversionary tombs to confuse outsiders. After hesitating for a moment, Little Fatty decided on revealing the truth. This mighty figure was even the titular disciple of Tomb Sect in the past. Ah! Su Zimo was alarmed. The old monk in the old temple had once warned him that apart from legacy disciples, the strongest successors of the super sects were the titular disciples. Furthermore, there could only be a single titular disciple. They were the elites among the legacy disciples of the sect. In order to become the titular disciple of a sect, one has to defeat all the other paragons. In the fiend sects, that was a path that was paved with fresh blood and corpses. A single person's success came from the corpses of many others. A titular disciple was a peerless paragon. Titular disciples were the faces of the super sects and ruled over the world. Their statuses in the sects were extraordinary, and they could command all the disciples in the sect. In fact, their status was even greater than most of the elders in the sect. At this point of his cultivation, Su Zimo had only encountered a true titular disciple, the Azura, Yen Baichen. Upon recollection of Yen Baichen's methods in the battle at Ethereal Peak, it was obvious how strong titular disciples were. In that generation, Yen Baichen was even the number 1 of the Golden Core phenomenon ranking. As a titular disciple of Tomb Sect in the past, this mighty figure must have been a glorious and peerless elite who roamed Tianhuang mainland in the past and looked down on the rest of the world. Little Fatty lamented. Unfortunately, this senior was unable to advance to the Mahayana realm, and was eventually buried here. The Mahayana realm came after the conjoined body realm. For humans, there was an ancient saying, one is unable to comprehend divine powers until they enter the Mahayana realm. In other words, as long as one advanced to the Mahayana realm, they could comprehend divine powers. Dermic powers were boundless, but divine powers were vast. Even for conjoined body mighty figures, they were not free from the shackles of heaven and earth, and still had to utilize dermic powers and arts. However, dermic powers were no match for divine powers. In the cultivation world, spirit energy was weaker than dermic powers, and dermic powers were weaker than divine powers. What were divine powers? They were incredible and beyond imagination. These were abilities to reach the firmaments that were beyond godly. Divine powers came after one broke free of the shackles of heaven and earth, and were at an even more terrifying level. In the old temple, there was a saying in one of the ancient books describing the means of a Mahayana patriarch. Mahayana was indestructible and could be reborn through a drop of blood. This meant that experts of the Mahayana were almost completely indestructible. Even if their bodies were destroyed and their limbs were snapped, a single drop of blood would suffice for them to recover to their original selves. Those methods were truly unimaginable and sought after by many. Only at that cultivation realm can one be barely worthy of the title immortal. With a deeper understanding of the path of cultivation and the cultivation world, Su Zimo could understand what Dai Yu said in the past. What kind of immortals are Chi Refinement Warrior considered as? Even the Golden Core dare not be so impudent to call themselves immortal. Even the titular disciple of Tomb Sect could not make the step forward and passed on before the Mahayana realm. It was imaginable how horrifying that realm was. Little Fatty said, "Boss, I'm not going to hide it from you. The reason why I entered the ancient battlefield this time round was because of a test left for us by our sect." Test? Su Zimo raised his brows slightly and asked, "You guys?" "Yes." Little Fatty nodded. The senior carried with him an utmost treasure of the sect that was lost after he disappeared. That remained the case until dozens of years ago, when our sect master beseeched experts of Enigma Palace for help. At that point, they divined roughly that the senior may have passed on and was buried in the intermediate ancient battlefield. Su Zimo understood. "So, the test for you by the sect is to locate the tomb and retrieve the utmost treasure?" "That's right," Little Fatty replied. "This utmost treasure belonged to the Underworld Emperor, and is extremely important to the sect. The reason why my Yellow Springs phenomenon isn't strong is also because of the loss of this utmost treasure." "I see." Suddenly, Su Zimo was enlightened. When he saw Little Fatty release the Yellow Springs phenomenon earlier on, he already had the feeling that the true power of the phenomenon was not unleashed completely. The true Yellow Springs phenomenon could definitely be ranked within the top 20 of the phenomenon ranking. Little Fatty continued. "However, this test wasn't for me alone. There's another senior brother of mine. Whoever gets their hands on this utmost treasure of the sect first will be qualified to become the titular disciple of Tomb Sect for this generation." Su Zimo realized what was happening. The test for Little Fatty from Tomb Sect was not only to locate the tomb and the belonging of the Underworld Emperor, but also to do it before someone else. This test would determine Little Fatty's future. Su Zimo asked, "You can receive help from others?" "Of course." Little Fatty nodded. Su Zimo urged, "Let's not waste time then. Hurry, lead the way." Little Fatty wanted to speak but did not. He did not move immediately as well. "What's wrong?" Su Zimo was confused. With a hesitant expression, Little Fatty said, "That senior brother of mine grew up in Tomb Sect. He even traveled in the Middle Continent once and has deep connections, befriending disciples of super sections. I'm sure he will get some of them to help him for this." "Boss, you..." Little Fatty did not continue, but Su Zimo understood. Little Fatty was worried about him. He already had a grudge with Glass Palace. If he were to offend another few super sects because of this matter, it would be equivalent to seeking death. "It's nothing." Su Zimo smiled casually and patted Little Fatty on the shoulder, saying in a leisurely manner, "I'm not afraid. What are you worried about?" "But..." Su Zimo interrupted with a laugh. "Don't forget, if you're thinking that I might offend them, I've already offended all the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects beneath the human emperor's palace 20 years ago." "Boss!" Little Fatty's eyes brimmed with tears emotionally. After all, he had arrived in Tomb Sect later on. When they heard that he was going to compete with that senior brother for the utmost treasure, none of his fellow sect mates, including some seniors, stood on his side. He did not know many people in the cultivation world either. After entering the ancient battlefield, Little Fatty's senior brother gave him a savage warning before leaving to seek super sects to back him up. However, Little Fatty was left all alone and helpless. It would be a lie to say that Little Fatty hadn't been suffering all these years. However, he knew that he could only endure no matter how much he suffered. The more he could endure, the greater his future accomplishments would be. Right now, when he heard Suzumo's words, little Fatty's heart was filled with warmth. He sniffled and mumbled to himself. I've also got my boss helping me. Ling Ming, we'll see if you can still bully me now. Chapter 682 Astral Dragon Sputum Lair. Chapter 682 Astral Dragon Sputum Lair. Fatty, I'm here too, Shijian said with a silly smile. Although I'm not as strong, I'll also help you for sure. Brother Fatty, we'll help you too. Little Fox was a sentimental person to begin with. At that moment, she raised her furry paws and cheered little Fatty on. Her voice was cute and extremely soothing. During this period of time, she traveled with Suzumo and witnessed many things in the world. She was no longer as shy and cowardly as before, and had become much more lively. Suzumo chuckled. Fatty, if you don't mind, the 7 of us brothers will stand by your side. Boss, what are you talking about? Little Fatty rolled up his sleeves and rubbed away his tears hastily. He patted his chest soundly with his fat palm and declared, Boss, other than that utmost treasure of the sect, you guys can have every other treasure in the tomb. There's no need for that. After all, these are items of Tomb Sect. Suzumo shook his head. You must take them all. Little Fatty's eyes widened and he turned serious. We might encounter a lot of danger along the way, and there will definitely be a massacre if we come across Ling Ming. You guys deserve all the treasures in the tomb. Ling Ming was Little Fatty's senior brother. Through Little Fatty's words, it could be seen that the two of them were not on good terms. Suzumo remained silent. This was the tomb of a conjoined body mighty figure. Furthermore, this conjoined body mighty figure was once a titular disciple. All the treasures in the tomb were definitely extremely rare. If the dozens of diversionary tombs outside were enough to fuel everyone's greed, how could there be a lack of amazing treasures in the actual tomb? When he saw how Suzumo was still hesitant, Little Fatty almost got angry. Boss, don't decline any further. I'm sure Ling Ming promised treasures inside the tomb to the Super Sect disciples that he sought help from. For the two of us, the true treasure we have to get our hands on is that utmost treasure of our sect. All right. Suzumo nodded. If I come across something suitable for me, I'll take it. That's settled then. Let's go. Little Fatty cheered and withdrew a circular geomantic compass. The geomantic compass was filled with countless circles with stars, the 5 elements and yin and yang. It was as though it contained endless secrets. Little Fatty followed the geomantic compass and verified the way before pointing to the southeast direction. That way! Suzumo and the rest followed closely behind. After speeding for close to an hour, Little Fatty suddenly stopped and looked to the geomantic compass again. After a moment, he pointed in another direction. This way! Suzumo and the others had no objection. Although he was strong in combat, he knew nothing in this regard. Everyone had their specialties. In terms of sense of direction, Suzumo could not compare to Little Fatty. In terms of controlling puppets and multitasking, he could not compare to Shijian either. Shijian was honest and not very sharp. In fact, he was a little slow. However, he was appreciated by one of the 5 heretical doctrines, Puppet Sect, and taken in as their disciple. In the past, Suzumo doubted their decision for a moment. He wondered why Puppet Sect took to Shijian. However, during this journey, Shijian cleared that doubt of his. One had to be able to multitask if they wanted to cultivate the art of controlling puppets. When a person is too sharp and articulate, it's difficult for them to multitask. Shijian did not have Suzumo try his hand on multitasking 5 things at one go, merely 2. He tried to have Suzumo draw a circle and square on the ground at the same time. However, Suzumo could not do it no matter how many times he tried and could only chuckle in exasperation. Although he was the strongest monster incarnate in history, it did not mean that he was good at everything. When Little Fatty was looking for the actual tomb, he was not smiling. Instead, he looked extremely serious. Under Little Fatty's lead, the group of them traveled through vast plains, deserts, swamps, mountains, and forests. At times, they headed east. At times, they went north. The direction was never fixed and always changed. As Little Fatty expected, they encountered many more cave abodes along the way. There were at least 10 of them. There were many cultivators fighting around all those tombs. That's the power of a mighty figure from Tomb's Sect. Suzimo was secretly shocked. The terrain is so complicated and there are countless diversionary tombs. Unless it was by accident, no one would be able to locate his tomb. However, on second thought, Suzimo understood the reason for it as well. The tomb should have been prepared by the mighty figure for the successors of Tomb's Sect. Only successors of Tomb's Sect would be able to distinguish and locate the actual tomb among the diversionary tombs. In the blink of an eye, 6 hours passed. It was already late at night. The group of them did not rest at all, traveling with twists and turns for a long time. Although the journey was long, in actual fact, they had not left the region. Up ahead, Little Fatty suddenly stopped and looked at the geomantic compass with a deep, pensive expression. "What's wrong?" When he saw Little Fatty stop for a long time, Suzimo could not help but head up and ask. "We're lost." Little Fatty looked a little helpless and dazed. Ah? Everyone was stunned. If even Little Fatty was lost, the rest of them had even less idea of what to do. Suzimo took a look at the geomantic compass in Little Fatty's hands. Initially, there was a magnetic needle indicating the direction on the geomantic compass. But now, the magnetic needle had gone crazy and was spinning wildly on the geomantic compass. They could not even identify where they were at currently, let alone locate the tomb. Suzimo asked with a frown. "What happened to the geomantic compass?" "I have no idea as well," Little Fatty said with a vexed expression. "It suddenly became like this when we arrived here." The moment he said that, Little Fatty's eyes lit up as he exchanged glances with Suzimo. The both of them blurted almost at the same time. "The tomb is here." Everyone looked down. Not far away, there was a verdant mountain peak and they were surrounded by greenery as well. There was also a small lake not far away with a little beast drinking water at the moment. Everything looked serene and peaceful. Although they deduced that the tomb was around here, nobody knew its exact location. The spirit tiger said loudly, "Since the tomb is here, let's smash the ground together. Sooner or later, we'll dig out a hole." "No, we can't." Suzimo shook his head. "Although this region is not humongous, it's not that small either. There's no way of finding out how deep the tomb lies. How long are we going to dig for?" "That's right, the commotion will most likely attract countless cultivators before we even locate the tomb." Ching nodded in agreement. "We must not do that," Little Fatty said with a solemn expression. "There must be many seals set up around this senior's tomb. If we try to break through them forcefully, the seals might injure us instead." The spirit tiger shuddered when he heard that, and no longer dared to offer any suggestions. If they triggered the seal of a conjoined body mighty figure, they might not survive even if they had 10 lives. Little Fatty looked up into the skies and his eyes flashed with a gradual realization. "I've got it." A moment later he leaped up in joy. This is the legendary Astral Dragon Sputum Lair. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.